time. I was in the studio yesterday on the other side of the glass, obviously, with the boys from Headlines. But in terms of JCS content, really, I've been anywhere but here. We have not been able to sit back and have a conversation post-news of the firings and what that sparks. And I'll tell you what it sparks in me besides enthusiasm to watch the process play out. You know, it's a little bit like what happens with coaches when they get a second lease on life. Rare is that second lease on life in the same location for if you need that second lease. Typically, you're not getting to do it at the place that required it. You are on down the road to the next stop where you are licking your wounds, reflecting on the past, learning from your mistakes and your successes, and reassessing, putting together a game plan, figuring out exactly how best to get it right this time around. We did some things that were pretty good that first go around, but not enough, and not for a sustained period of time. And that's why I'm at this new job, and I'm going to figure out what I did wrong at the old job, and I'm going to surround myself with some people that can help me get across the finish line here and win in the way that I want to win and consistently do so. Mike gets to do that here for a variety of reasons, for a variety of circumstances. But he does get that chance. We've now heard from the athletic director. We've heard from Mike himself. We've seen the actions. Mike is going to be here. And now every decision he makes on a day-to-day basis matters greatly about reaching that goal of sustained success here at Florida State and perhaps someday winning, of course, the ultimate goal, a national championship. Seems like it is eons away from happening here as we sit on a Wednesday in mid-November. You don't feel like we're anywhere close, and you'd be right to think that we're not anywhere close. But I don't know anymore what is a reasonable expectation for fans in college football. I think we're at a weird time and place. You got to get somewhere where you can sustain successes while understanding that having a depth of talent on your roster is no longer something that is obtainable year in and year out to the level necessary to be an annual contender for a title unless you are currently already in that place, like a Texas, let's say, or maybe a Georgia or an Alabama or an Oregon right now. We'll see. I feel like everybody else is kind of just hoping they don't lose that star player or two that causes the downfall and changes perceptions of what you are. Miami in 1 year, because of Cam Ward, has turned the program under, obviously, their head coach, Mario Cristobal, from 12-13 in his time to one that might make the playoff, at the very least, might. They're 9-1 after the upset loss to Georgia Tech, but nonetheless changed their fortunes around and the perception of who they are. Now the question we sit around and ask ourselves is how quickly can Mike do that and, unfortunately, do that again? Did it once, got to do it again. Not ideal, duly noted, well documented, discussed, vetted, and everything in between. I now wait every day, every hour, and to try to dive deep into these coordinator hires, how many more people he's going to add to his staff, how many more people he's going to let go, the administration's role in all of this, what players are coming aboard with the new coordinators that are hired, because that will most assuredly be a talking point. I don't think that you go out looking at coordinators and say, hey, this coordinator is going to bring me this running back or this wide receiver or this quarterback. Maybe you pay a little bit closer attention if he's going to be bringing you that quarterback. But honestly, I think it's part of the conversation. Is this guy an elite recruiter? Did he already have on the hook 7, 8 really key players that could help turn this around in a hurry if we hire them? I don't know. All things being equal, maybe you lean away or two. But that's what's kind of fun about all this, is documenting this, watching this, because I think we're looking at something different than we've ever looked at as college football fans. We've never had to watch a program rebuild in the same way that this one has to rebuild in this era. In 1998 or 2008, it was kind of the same type of thing. I'm not talking about Florida State specifically. Obviously, in 1998, Florida State was elite. They were a year away from going wire to wire and winning a national championship and being the first program in college football history to do exactly that. But you get my point. The way the game was played, the way that recruiting worked, the way that the blue blood stockpiled talent and were the destination of the elite across the country. There were no real exceptions. Every once in a great while, you had an eye-opening experience in which somebody who wouldn't ordinarily be able to lure a player that was a 5-star that all the big boys wanted. Yeah, every now and then you look up and be like, how about that? South Carolina signed the number 1 player in the country. Well, I'll be damned. Oh, well, his dad played there. Oh, well, okay. Every now and then that would happen. But anymore, that's not the way you build programs. It's not the way you sustain programs. It's not the way that you have to go about the process of building a contender. Now, there are certain tenets that are the same. It's still about relationships. It's still about making sure that you are out there meeting these high school coaches that are guiding the elite high school players. And it's very important that you establish connections with those players early on in the process, something that Mike and his staff have not done a very good job of. Hence the reason we talk about you could win 19 games in a row, 23 out of 26 games you play over a 2-year span, and still not crack the top 10 in recruiting. There's a fundamental flaw there, something that I have said before will cause him to have to look in the mirror. And you'll have to remedy some of that, although you're going to do that in a different way than you used to do, and you're also going to do it while marrying that approach or that changed mindset about recruiting with trying to bring in an influx of, I don't know, 30 new players, 40 new players, because half-stepping after going 2-10 and then turning around and say maybe going 5-7 or 6-6 is not ideal. It's not in the cards. It's not something that will probably see you employed long-term. So what's the balance? What's the balance of the money spent and what we now look at as college football free agency, which is every player everywhere on every roster every day, which is absurd? Is it money spent in those long-term endeavors and investments of a player that you know is going to make a difference in your program if he decides as a prep superstar to say yes to Florida State? What's the balance? You failed originally in the prep ranks, but you got an A+ prior to this year in the portal ranks. So let's marry the two and see what happens from there. But getting these hires right is going to play a big part of that. I can't wait every day to talk about this. This is much better than, hey, can we analyze that 2nd and 7 and call down 28? Because I don't think that was a good call. You know, the misuse of timeouts every week, which we've all grown weary of, fair to point out, but not nearly as important as, hey, man, we've got an existential crisis on our hands here as a football program. We've got an existential crisis that has many a Noel looking in the mirror and wondering, where has the time gone and why have I invested so much emotional capital into this group who every Saturday gets a running start and kicks me in the balls? Yeah, so you got a big to-do. It's a weighty deal here, Tom.
Well, and it's also in a time in college football where things are insane.
Changing.
Insane. You're a clown juggling on a unicycle on the hood of a car that's propped up on a plane that's trying to land on a boat at sea.
Tough times.
It's just, I was reading stuff today on what athletic departments and collectives are doing relative to the settlement, distribution of university revenue for players. Michael Alfer was actually quoted in Ross Dellinger's piece as half kidding saying, we're going to have to give players IOUs because a lot of the things that they're doing are with an eye towards the settlement, the congressional settlement actually coming through in April, but it's not till April. And right now you have Olympic sports signing period, and next month you have the early signing period for football. So you're looking at the way you're divvying up the revenues. It also would impact scholarship counts from 85 to 105. And the reason I bring all of that up is because of that latter point, 85 to 105. It is for that reason that you can have potentially, if the settlement goes through, 105 people on your roster. I got to think the number's between 40 and 50 new players for Florida State.
Yeah, when I said 30, I thought that sounded dangerously low, so that's why I adjusted it to 40 or 50.
Especially if you got the runway of 20 extra. Now, I don't think we're going to go max Scully's at 105, but if you do have that kind of leeway with the roster, why not use it in this specific setting because of the nature of the crisis? You don't feel very good about the two deep. It's only going to get worse because you're going to have some kids leave. Like, I'm talking kids that would be coming back next year. You're going to have some of those kids leave. So in that very transient period for the program, this critical moment, yeah, man, 45, 50 new players. I mean, we're going to get we're going to forget some of the kids that we bring in. There's going to be so many. That would be my thought.
Well, if you look at rosters that have been overhauled, whether it's Colorado or Indiana, a number have. Now, some have to a lesser degree been overhauled, but at key areas. Something that stands out, obviously, would be the quarterback at Vanderbilt. You see these kinds of things where a player comes from a system, a coordinator came over, brings said quarterback who he knows can run the system, and the time spent having to teach is jettisoned into other areas. So the come up is much quicker. And this is something that I think Florida State fans right now will be looking at very carefully. Have we seen anything from Brock Glenn or Luke Kromenhoek that says, I know we can win with them next year? The retort to that might be, seems rather unfair to judge, Jeff. They've been betrayed by all that is around them.
Betrayal.
The answer is, you're correct. They have been betrayed by the coaches, by the lack of talent, the dearth of talent around them, the inability to block it up for them, the inability to create balance within a singular football game that might buy time. All of these kinds of things are true to suggest in defense of those two players. Nonetheless, it comes back to this. Whether that is true or not, and it is, you still have to ask yourself, either one of these guys going to win and win pretty big next year for me? Do I think that they can or will next year for me? If you think you're not real sure, then you're probably bringing in a quarterback in the portal yet again. And so you start there with the most important position, and your head coach, whom is going to be here, but also got it wrong with the last quarterback that he brought in. So is the decision his? Well, ultimately, every decision under the guise of an improving football team is his decision. Or will it be the OC that he brings in who brings a quarterback with him? Will it be the OC who says, here's what I want, here's the kid I want to run it, and here's why, and oh, by the way, I think we can win with it right here, right now, make it happen?
I think that's as interesting, if not in some ways more interesting, than looking at the all-22 of the new offensive coordinator. You know, he comes in and we'll have features on that, like, okay, what does he do? What is his philosophy? Has he called plays before? I would think the answer is going to be yes.
Yeah, I don't think you're hiring somebody who hasn't. Yes.
I would think.
That'd be weird.
It would be weird. But
yeah, I think that would make us very uncomfortable.
But then we also look at the two deep of that guy. You know, oh, who's on the two deep over there? Let's see their last few recruiting classes and see if they've signed some 4 stars or 5 stars. That he has a freshman who redshirted. Okay, played quarterback. Was the 12th rated quarterback in the class. I see. Well, could we be bringing him along with us? Is this a package deal? I wonder if we're in such a warped world in college football that is an interview question from Mike Norvell to the coordinator. Okay, I see everything checks out here. Your acumen for the game, your film is awesome. Can you bring anybody with you? Oh, no, you don't feel right about that? Okay, well, we've had a good day.
Nobody in the modern game of college football watching this insanity that plays out roster to roster, week to week, year to year, has trepidation any longer about screwing over their current employer for their next employer. Nobody does. You're taking the company secrets, trade secrets with you out the door, and you're applying them to your next stop. And you know what? You throw caution to the wind because this college football game now is lawless. It's lawless. And the program you're going to currently, if it's named Florida State, is rudderless. So you've got an opportunity to walk through the door and say, here, put my hands on it. This is what I learned. This is why I was successful. I don't really care the origins of that, just that it was, and that you can teach it and apply it and execute it year one. If the answer is I need an experienced quarterback to do that in year one who's run a similar system, then so be it. Look, these places that have been the happy stories littered throughout college football this year feature many of those kinds of explanations.
Absolutely. What's Miami's record without Ward? They
Correct.
have one loss, but how many more would they have?
Oh, well, all of those close games they played against the likes of Cal and Duke and what was the Virginia Tech game? I mean, those are losses. Well, They were just the year prior. I'm going to assume they would have been again because that dude was scoring 40 points a game and they were barely winning. So, yes, that's exactly why Miami turned it around and sits at 9-1. You know, you could go through that top. Well, look at the college football playoff rankings from last night. You can go quarterback at all of the places, just about. And you go, oh, transfer. Okay, guy came over, right? Got it. Oh, they brought in 17 new starters from the previous place that Siggs was at, James Madison. Oh, I see. You know, like whatever that might be. Dylan Gabriel. We've watched all these guys, right, go forward, and you see it, and you know it's okay. Well, in some cases, yes, it was a homegrown guy that you brought out of the high school ranks.
And you paid $2 million to.
Well, yeah. But that's where we're at. And it's a free-for-all until it's not. And it's not a good look for college football. It doesn't do the game any favors in the eyes of fans. I mean, this is a disaster to the casual fan. And I don't disagree with the casual fan here. I think it is a disaster. I think it's absurd to ask coaches to re-recruit rosters on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. I think we got to put an end to that. And I think that's absurd. I don't have any problem with players making money off of name, image, likeness. None. In fact, hallelujah. Thank goodness it happened. It's about damn time. We were screwing players forever. So good for them for getting their money. Now, in exchange for you getting your money, you're not going to just haphazardly hop around whenever the hell you feel like it. There will be repercussions for those sorts of things, such as that sitting out for at least a year, giving much of the money we gave you back after forsaking your NIL deal, which ought to be on a multi-year level and incentivized.
Well, yes, that needs to be standardized, that if you leave, whatever you earned up to a certain percentage is just given back. Sorry.
Or you keep what you got, what you earned, you know, what you killed. You did a bunch of car ads for whatever while you were in Tallahassee. You keep that money for the ads that you did, but you got no more coming to you over the next 2 years. And so that deal, let's say, is $1 million deal, and you made $333,000 in year one. Guess what? You got nothing from that point forward.
Yeah, well, and if you signed a multi-year NIL agreement, I think collectives are afraid to litigate in that situation. It's not a great look. But if you have somebody, a third party, come in and say, hey, you signed a 3-year deal for your name, image, and likeness, you can go play at Tennessee. But here's the deal. Anything you get, you have to transfer back to the collective because they own your name, image, and likeness. So it's their money, not yours.
Yeah.
They own you, you know? That's the whole thing. They own your image. They own your likeness. And right now, the way that these things are structured, because you can't have incentive-laden contracts, which needs to change. They need to be incentive-laden. You know, collectives are just saying, go. They're saying, well, I mean, it's the nature of the business. We're not going to get into a legal fight over this. We don't want to be the precedent-setting legal course or case.
Yeah, I think it's interesting, though, where this is all headed. And again, this muddies the waters to what we're talking about on a regular basis. It's a lot for an individual who has a normal life, a normal job, a normal work week to keep up with. I mean, look what's happened in the world of recruiting alone, Tom. I mean, there was a time, and when I jokingly started ifollowthekitties.com, there was a time that the reason I could even make light of that and have fun at the expense of Recruitniks was because of that obsession that was, at least in football playing areas of the country, where it mattered to people and people had a passion. It was an agreed upon way of doing business with a date that everybody understood mattered. And the way that players were fought for and lured to a school or convinced to come to a school was applied evenly throughout the game. I mean, we had still, you understood there were $1 million handshakes and for certain special talents throughout history, perhaps, or an uncle that was unsavory asking for money under the table for a running back from a small town in the middle of nowhere or something like that. You got that those kind of unsavory things occurred. But by and large, everybody had an agreed upon sort of deal with recruiting. That's gone by the wayside. It doesn't exist anymore. In fact, now it's just outright stupid to try to keep up with. Because even when you win, you're not sure you're going to really win. Meaning, I got you to say yes in December. Awesome. You've signed in December. 3 months later, somebody hurt your feelings. You're one of these easily offended young men with weak sensibilities. And now you want to take it to Tennessee and I can't stop you? So I didn't win anything. I got you for 3 months. Felt good, puffed my chest. Then you screwed me and took it on down the road to Knoxville.
And we opened with Tennessee. I feel like it's an inside job.
Sons of bitches. We had it until we didn't have it. Why did I invest my time? Why did I sit at my desktop on a Wednesday, sipping a cold one and shooting the middle finger at my best friend who roots for my rival who didn't get the yes that they were coveting on that particular day? What's this? They got it now? Well, damn it, man, I didn't really win.
How about buyouts for kids with NIL collectives? Oh, you can come poach my kid if you want. It'll cost you $2.5 million. And you got to pay that up front.
Well, now we're just in La La Land talking about the fantasies that we have, but things are changing.
La La Land is reality, though, because if you went back in time 4 years and said, here are the parameters by which college football goes, you'd say, that is La La Land. That's never going to be a thing.
Well, I would also warn that it won't be successful. And if you recall, we said, be careful what you're trying to do here, college football, because, and I know that's just a sort of arbitrary, college football. There's no czar of college football, but
an amoeba-like creature.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying here. But I warned, hey, there's already a system in place by which players are paid and incentivized. It's called the NFL, and they do it better than you. And they have been doing it better than you for a very long time. And oh, by the way, it makes much more sense the way they do it because everybody's got a cap. They play by the same rules across the board, no matter what state they're in. And if I get a player and I sign him, he ain't going anywhere. He's staying right here for the life of that contract so long as I pay him. And yeah, at some point, the guaranteed money goes away and we can renegotiate. There are look-ins and the like. We get it. But if I get a middle linebacker to come to Florida State under the NFL system and I sign him and he's paid handsomely and ready to lock in and give of his talents moving forward, I know I got him for 3 years, 4 years. This guy, this is what we signed him to. That's not true in the college game, though. Those NFL rules aren't applicable here, and that's not good. That's not a good system. It's a poor system. It's not a system that sees coaches wanting to really long-term be part of this sport. Why so many people have bowed out at the end of their careers? It wasn't because they wanted to go hang out on the lake, get on a boat and sip a Mai Tai. It's because I'm not doing this at 68 years old. I'm not doing this at 59 years old, waking up at 4 a.m. to call this kid on my own roster to be sure. Everything okay? Do you feel good, Keith?
Could have stuck to total cost of attendance plus the scholarship and then just had briefcases before every game. Somewhere between $50,000 and $3 million, depending upon the stakes of the game. There you go. Here it is, guys. It's like a golf tournament. Here's the purse. Now, your total cost of attendance is taken care of, and you feel free to get back in that buffet line at the university cafeteria. All you can eat. The money will be with wins. That would have been something.
For the wins, boys. For the wins.
The referee is holding the briefcase as he flips the coin.
Make no mistake. This is for the win.
Gentlemen, this is a $675,000 tilt between Florida State.
Bet people
and
tricking
NC
downhill
State.
then, Tom.
Yeah.
I bet they would fire off the ball at that point.
I'm telling you.
Yeah.
Yes, they would.
And if they caught their fellow man not doing the same, that's a shot to the face on the sideline. I'm trying to make $600,000, bitch. What are we doing out here half-stepping?
Wouldn't have the safety doing this.
That fake I'm playing football game we played all week long.
I just missed the
running
pile.
alongside you. Ooh, I'm running alongside you. I'm still here running alongside you.
I almost got to the pile in time, Coach.
Know your body, transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to science-backed health insights that you get from a DEXA scan. Second to none, best in the industry, most accurate body composition test available. Bone density, muscle mass. Find out where that visceral fat lies and attack it. Be smarter. You don't have to work harder, but be smarter about it. Right now, you get a DEXA scan, red light therapy, coupled for just $99, normally $184. Call 850-510-7728. You can visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body, transform your life. DexaFit.
Pinch A Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot, bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch A Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection. With automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch A Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, in both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit. Power Mill Training Academy equips motivated athletes focused on baseball and softball with the specific tools to reach their true potential. Now, you'll read that if you go to their website, but I'm here to tell you that, look, whether it's your daughter wanting to play softball, your son wants to play baseball, or maybe they just want to have fun and get the most out of their abilities, and that's where Power Mill comes into play. They've got coaches and camps that teach for every level of play for your son or your daughter. To learn more, go to PowerMillSports.com.
This is Alex from Falmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Falmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Falmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Falmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Falmers, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
As you probably know, Falmers buys, sells, and loans on just about anything of value. What you might not know is that when you buy something from us, we guarantee the total satisfaction of your purchase. Buy it, take it home, and if for any reason you decide you don't want it within 7 days, Falmers will give you 100% of your money back. And if you decide you don't want the item within 30 days, Falmers will let you exchange it for something you do want. At Falmers, we guarantee you're going to be happy with your purchase or we'll buy it back. Falmers, check cashing, pawn service, and sales. 2 times more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I find all that fascinating, the ever-changing landscape of which we speak, and then also this endeavor, which seems so weighty to have to go through now. I would love at some point down the road, and I doubt it'll happen, I'd have to get access to it in some way. I would love to sit down with Mike, preferably on the other side of some successes in the very near future, and kind of talk about this, what I hope is going to be labeled the lost season, much like the lost decade was.
So you're talking like a year from now, because there's nothing he can do in the offseason for you to say,
No.
all right.
Not likely. Not likely. Yeah. Listen, at the end of the day, the only thing that is going to change the perception of Mike Norvell and the Florida State football program is not a hire, not a singular hire as a DC or an OC or any other hire, but rather the wins you garner on the field next year. Nobody's going to care about any of the stuff that we're talking about in terms of the coaches you bring in until you win. They'll care, but they won't change the way that they're viewing Mike and the program until the wins begin to stockpile. That's all it is. That's the business.
Yeah, I mean, you could, in theory, land a quote-unquote can't-miss transfer portal class, on the level of a Cam Ward and maybe some offensive linemen and a pass rusher that everybody wanted, and you land them because you broke the bank to do it.
Oh, it would be encouraging, but you still...
I think people would at that point be on board. They would say, now go ahead and finish the task, man, rather than, can you do it, dude? Like, the very different energies.
Yeah, I just think when you failed at this level, the way that he has failed this year, you got to start showing me some damn wins. So we can talk about how much we like that coordinator and this transfer or any of that other stuff. I need to know the behind the scenes is buttoned up again.
So here's a fun hypothetical. It's almost like exchange rates. The offensive coordinator candidate A and B are the same on the trail, and they're the same in terms of acumen for the game.
Mm-hmm.
But one can bring you 2 offensive linemen and a receiver that are second team all ACC, guaranteed, maybe better, but they're at least going to be that level. Or the other one can bring you a quarterback that's second team all ACC and just the quarterback.
No, you got to block it up, man.
You're hiring the guy with the two plus one.
If that's the criteria, yeah. I mean, I'm hiring offensive. I'm bringing in offensive linemen. We can't block. It's awful. You have to block. All of the play calling woes can largely be attributed to the fact that they can't block anybody, and thus they become very, very predictable. And then from there, you get teed off on over and over and over again. And I don't care how imaginative you are, you're just going to have a hard time when you're one-dimensional and you can't block it up in the pass game. Look, if you can't run the ball and they begin to tee off in the pass game and you can't block the pass rush, we're done dealing. The game's over before it starts. You might trick your way through a quarter. You might find ways to slow the pass rush down initially with the screen game or draws.
It was 7-3 after the first quarter.
Right. Yeah, you might be able to put lipstick on a pig for 15 minutes. But then they're like, oh, you can't do this and you can't do that? Okay, well, we're not going to fall for the okie doke, everybody. Slow your roll. It's a screen or a draw.
That's just what they call. It's not even a screen.
Yeah.
It's that thing they do.
You can try to slow people down with a few misdirection plays that require them to stay home and play you honest. The third or fourth time, they're like, no, I got it. You're not really going over there. So, you see it.
Sneaky.
Yeah, the well runs dry quick with this group, to say the least. They're like, oh, he can't get separation, and if he does, there's a real good chance he won't catch it. That quarterback of yours doesn't see him to begin with because he's staring at the rush. And the reason he's staring at the rush is it's on upon him right now. So there you go.
Well, you could even be the defensive coordinator in many of these games like Saturday night and say, look, let him behind you. I don't care. If he catches it, it's a miracle. But if he does and they score, that's their 9th and 10th points of the game. We're going to score 30. So you know what? Let's just cheat towards somewhere around the line of scrimmage where they're actually going to run the play. And if you get beat, trust me, young man, I will not yell at you because 10's not going to win them the ball game. It'll feel like a miracle to them and their fan base will be jumping up and down. But trust me, it's okay. Make them do it. Make them actually throw it over your head because they're not going to.
It was funny in the stands on Saturday night in South Bend, the fans around me, I was in the Florida State section in the end zone. We were staring out over the field, and on the opposite end is Touchdown Jesus and all that. Nice setting for a football game. Beautiful weather in terms of it was chilly. I wanted it to be chilly. It was. They have a nice campus. Dump of a town. South Bend is just as sorry and ugly as I remember it to be. And you would have been happy about that. As I meandered away around South Bend, I thought, boy, this place sucks. This is not where you want to live. You're stuck out in the sticks of Indiana. You got nothing going on here. Now, the campus itself, beautiful, tradition, it's all there, great. Anyhow, that said, after every play, especially in that first quarter, people would turn like, we kind of showed up tonight. It was like shocking. You didn't hear, yay. You didn't hear, all right. You heard, well, he caught it, Morlock. And then there was, we made a tackle behind the line. Penetration behind the line of scrimmage.
Hey, they're giving it to Toa Feely.
Yeah, he picked up 6. People were like in awe by the simplest of things in football. Like it's not even this grand game planning masterpiece that people are sitting back in awe of. It's 3 yards, 2nd and 7. All right. Little 2nd and 7 for that ass. Like we're that beaten down.
I talked to my dad this week, and he's somewhat of a fan. He will watch because he knows my work and he knows where we went to school, 2 of his kids. But if he could choose between a Saturday night where he's watching a movie with my mom, he's in his late 70s. He's the game. He's like, we'll figure it out later. But he said, I watched a drive. It was your first drive. And I thought, hey, they came to play tonight. We'll see what the score is later. Then we watched a movie, and after the movie, you're down by 40. I said, yes, that's who we are.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we might give you a little something, but that's all we got.
It's funny when non-Florida State fans who we are either related to, for example, or just good friends of, like, so a friend of yours that went to, say, Texas or went to, Michigan or whatever, they don't watch Florida State every week. They see the scores, they see the results, and they're like, golly, they got thumped again. And you might get a text or something like that. What you get a lot of now is that text that you hadn't received for weeks, and its origins are they actually sat and watched this time. Because then it's an incredulous, what is going on up there? Like, hey, man.
They're just discovering that they should be offended.
Yes, like they're just now shocked that it's as bad as you've been telling them it is, and as the scores suggest that it is. So my stepdad today, bless his heart, he said, did you have fun in Chicago? He called me this morning. I said, I did. Had a good time. He's like, how'd the kids like Chicago? How's Bryce's leg? Was he able to get around Chicago? Like, yeah, he hobbled around. We did okay. It was great. The kids had a wonderful time. Yeah, I tuned in for a little while of the game. Your defense didn't seem to show up. Bob, have you watched us play a minute of football this year? What are you talking about?
I get a lot of people engaged in hyperbole. We were not.
No.
We were just telling you what was going on.
No aspect of this team is any good other than the punting and the kicking.
I'm reading this real quick just to make sure there's not an F-bomb in there, and there isn't. I just like how fans have random breaking points, too. Like that they're still engaged, and they know we're terrible, and they watch every play, and yet still something will drive them nuts. And these are texts I got Saturday, 9:17 p.m., 8:17 Central. Mike keeps raising the bar. What a stupid timeout. They're going to miss a 52-yard kick. They're only attempting because if they go for it and don't convert, you get 15 yards, stop the clock, and you can kick one yourself with a good kicker. They then go for it and score a touchdown because you no longer have a timeout. Keeps raising the bar. I like that because that means that my buddy Tyler is still invested. and he could still be pissed off by these guys. And that timeout was a reason. If you needed a reason, I'm sure the folks in the stand said the same thing.
Oh,
Did we call that timeout?
They were all in shock. They were all in shock.
Was that us or them? Did they call the timeout?
Well, I yelled at the PA announcer. I thought there was nobody dumb enough to call a timeout there. That has to be a Notre Dame timeout. Why'd they attribute that to us? There's no way Florida State called a timeout there. That'd be asinine. There's no reason to do it. They're like, timeout Florida State. I'm like, oh, get it together, PA guy. We didn't call a timeout there. What dumbass calls a timeout there? That's crazy. And then the guy next to me is like, I think we did. And then the guy down to my right is like, I saw Mike doing it. I was like, what are you talking about? He did not call a timeout. He did not. He did. I saw him do it. And we were all like just looking at each other. What? It was hilarious. Everybody was kind of, what?
We have that moment. It happens in the NFL all the time, too.
Oh.
Inside of 2 minutes, but you don't see it, and they don't show the ref.
Yeah.
And so the lower third bug shows, and it says, like, Carolina timeout. Carolina didn't call that timeout.
Yeah,
it make no sense.
Nobody would call a timeout there. That's insane.
Dallas called the timeout.
Yeah. Dallas needed to call the timeout. You got to know Dallas called it. They had to. They had to stop the clock there.
Well, partner, I don't know why Carolina called that timeout, but Dallas retains. They still have 2 timeouts left.
And you're like, man, if I were a Carolina fan, I'd be furious right now. That is us every time we watch Florida State right now. Like, man, so somewhere your friend, my stepdad, is like, good God, that couldn't be right.
Well,
I mean, I'd be furious if I were a Florida State fan right now.
Yeah, TV caught Mike doing it. So from the TV angle, there was no reason because they're the top sideline. So you knew, and you watched him. You go, okay, all right.
Yeah, you go.
Just after the close-up on the Notre Dame backup kicker who's going to vomit all over himself before he tries it.
Yeah, so I answered the question. Chicago's awesome. Love Chicago. I've been to Chicago 15, 20 times. Kids had never been. They loved it. We had a blast. Everything about Chicago was wonderful. Always is every time I go. South Bend, not so much. In fact, I'm on the wrong end of the South Bend experience almost every time I go these days. Because I was there in 2018 with Willie or whatever that was. Was that 2018?
Yeah. My, how time flies.
Yes. And it's crazy that was 6 years ago. And you were sickly.
It feels like a flat circle, though. Right?
No, it is
there is some good that happened in between those 2 trips.
Oh, boy. Shannon Young, loansforknowles.com. He was there. I knew he would be. Loyal, diehard fellow Seminole, kicking ass with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company, Corporation, as they call it. And I doffed the cap at his hard work, his ingenuity, his successes, plural. And the guy's smart, really good within that space. I don't know anybody better. He's saving you money. He's helping fulfill dreams, all of those things that center around that loan business for homes and the like. So go to loansforknowles.com. That's loansforknowles.com. Check out my man Shen, working hard and giving back. Jeff Cameron Show, 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Frobley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Daytime highs approaching 80 this afternoon under overcast skies. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance of rain showers tonight. Lows level off around 66, cloudy. Slight chance of rain showers tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 75. Cloudy skies expected. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 75 degrees.
Construction services. T-Bar.com. We conquer all creeks. We fix those darn leaks. Call 850-766-1340. T-Bar Enterprises. Roofing and construction services. T-Bar. T-Bar.com.
CCC 1331204.
Order for Jennifer C.
Is this my double shot, double cream, double froth, double pump, double whip, double sleeve?
Yeah. Can you handle that much caffeine?
Did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Oh, really? That's great.
Seriously, did you know Discover automatically doubles all the cash back you've earned at the end of your first year?
Yeah, you just said that.
Did you say I just said that?
Yeah, I'm cutting you off.
I can't have any more? Why not?
You earn, we match. Discover Cashback Match. See terms at discover.com/credit card.
1 in 4 Americans have a disability. I'm one of them. I'm also a working mom who cares deeply about making sure every child with a disability thrives by getting their access needs met. We've got a trusted ally by our side. Easter Seals provides children and families the foundation for lifelong success through early learning programs, skills training, and prep for college and career. That's my Easter Seals. Make it yours. Join us at easterseals.com.
There he is. Haven't seen this guy since, what was it? Oh, shoot. U2 at the Sphere in Las Vegas, baby.
Hey, how about that, man? Wasn't that fun?
Good show. Good show. Everything about it. Nearly perfect. Nearly perfect.
I had everything I could possibly want.
I wanted one thing, couldn't find it, and I looked everywhere. No Cubans.
What do you mean?
No Cubans.
There was Cubans.
No, I didn't see any Cubans.
Dude, I'm sure there was Cubans there. I mean,
No. I walked around. There was a moment right before the show. I thought, got to find some Cubans. Nothing.
Dude, there's Cubans. There was Cubans. I'm sure there was Cubans.
In Las Vegas?
In Las Vegas.
No Cubans in Vegas.
There's Cubans in Vegas, man.
Eddie, there were no Cubans.
Chef.
The sandwich. There were no Cuban sandwiches. You're Cuban. Of course I know there were Cubans there.
Oh, the sandwich. Yeah, no, there probably wasn't many there in Vegas.
No Cubans.
No, not yet.
Gordo's, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
I do have to make mention, everybody, that the basketball team did something they haven't been able to do in some time, and that is not lose games to also ran programs that have little chance of beating Power 4 programs traditionally. So last night, another win over a grossly outmatched opponent in Tarleton State, which I had never heard of. It's twice this year there's been an opponent or somebody that's been out there. I don't know who that is.
Some call that curious. I think we call that good scheduling.
Great scheduling. You schedule those damn wins. The problem is we were trying to schedule wins the last couple of years, and oopsie, lost those games. Florida State improves to 3-0. Kind of an ugly foul fest of a game. Florida State beats Tarleton State 72-52 last night at the TLC
I think 52 is the count of fouls in the second half specifically. Ridiculous.
Lethargic first half. At one point, it's 33-28.
Both teams are shooting the 1-1 with 12 minutes to go in the second half.
Get a handle on yourself, officials. Get a handle on yourself. 48 fouls whistled in an endless parade of free throws. 66 total free throw attempts between the two teams. It is a sin. You should be fired. If you're an official last night for that blankety blank, you should be fired. Nobody's there to see you. Stop doing this. Get it together, everybody.
And if both of these teams are committing fouls, just let the coaches know after the game, hey, I had to move it along, but you might want to check your film. You guys are ridiculous. Get it together.
2 hours, 25 minutes. FSU led the ACC in number of fouls committed per game last year, so some of this is no doubt on us. Gonna have to clean it up, boys. All that grabbing. But, man alive.
They try. I like this group for that.
They do. They got a little what for to them. That is a start, guys. Controlled the glass as they should have. Had 11 offensive boards, which led to 15-0 domination and second chance points. Forced 21 turnovers, 13 steals. You know, that's effort. These are effort plays, Tom, that we're talking about. That's why I'm noting those statistics. Now you play real basketball. You'll be going up against Florida. It's also 3-0. I think they won last night by 60-something points in their game.
Ooh.
They're ranked in the top 20. First real test of the season. It's at the TLC Double C Friday night. Maybe we may go over to maybe we do the little TLC Double C, buddy.
6 p.m. action?
6 p.m.
I like that start time.
Carried at the on the great ACC network for everybody.
Did you see what time next month ACC SEC challenge these days? We play at LSU.
Cool.
10 p.m.
Not cool.
10 p.m.
Not cool. I won't see that game.
We're not playing in Sacramento.
10. No.
Playing in Baton Rouge.
Yeah. By the way, what's funny about that is UNC slotted for another basketball game at 8 p.m. because it's their conference. It's their personal conference in their network. Now, I'll grant you the cachet that North Carolina has in the ACC as opposed to Florida State, significantly greater than ours.
They really earn the 20 cents in the dollar that basketball brings in.
Tip time again, 6 p.m. Carried on the ACC network. Oh, man. I'm just happy they're 3-0. Just happy that they're 3-0. Last few years, we've gone out there against teams that you're like, oh, nice little tune-up game. What? We lost by 18.
If they could bother to make a 3 once in a while, that you might have something.
They don't, but
that's why I said once in a while. I'm not asking for routinely. I'm not asking regularly. I'm asking for once in a while.
11-man rotation last night. Nobody played more than 23 minutes for Florida State. Looks like they may have some quality depth or decent depth, let's put it that way, this year. Looks like they may have a shot.
They got size. They do, yes. It's in the chat. Kyle's says, looks like a Ham 1.0 junkyard dog team. Could be.
Well, I hope so.
We hope so.
Those teams won. Hour number 2 forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 Real Talk Radio and Warchant TV.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
No matter how busy life gets, your home is the place where your family and friends show you they care and celebrate with you. That's why the professionals at Barano Heating and Air Conditioning always make sure your home is comfortable. Just like those who matter to you most, Barano will always be there for you.
This is Tyler from Barano Heating and Air. Now you can schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device. Any day, anytime, anywhere. When you turn to the experts at Carrier and Barano Heating and Air, online at baranoac.com.
Florida license number CAC 1816186.
This is Shannon Young with Fairway Independent Mortgage Corporation. Investors, are you looking for a creative way to purchase your next rental property? Are you looking to get into the Airbnb space? If so, you need to know about DSCR loans. It stands for Debt Service Coverage Ratio. These are loans that do not require traditional income verification. As long as the proposed rent covers the mortgage payment on the subject property, that's the only income you need. If you're looking at investing and don't know if you can qualify, let's set up a plan to get your next income producing property and start putting you on a path to passive income. Give me a call at 954-369-6171. And don't forget, every fellow Knoll that we close a loan for, I will personally make a donation of $250 to the Battle's End. It's Shannon Young at 954-369-6171.
Equal housing limit. NMLS number 373033.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take-home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Knolls take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat-screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Coming up next, more of the Jeff Cameron Show. Live and local on Real Talk 93.3. WVFT, Greta, Tallahassee. Your Sports Flash update on Real Talk 93.3 brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee.
Florida State basketball, they pick up a win over Tarleton State yesterday, 72-52, as freshman Daquan Davis had 9 points. 12 of the 16 Seminoles who got playing time found their way into the scoring column. Nobody scoring in double figures, very even scoring all the way around. It's a little bit tougher for Florida State. They're going to match up against Florida in a game that's going to be coming up on Friday. Central Florida basketball yesterday, they pick up the victory over Florida Atlantic, 100-94, as Keyshawn Hall had 26 points, 20 of which he scores in the second half. They are back at it on Tuesday of next week when they play Tennessee Tech. This Sports Flash is brought to you by Fulmar's Pawn, Gun, and Gold, more than you might expect with two great locations in Tallahassee. I'm Matt Pauley on Real Talk 93.3.
This holiday season, Straight Talk Wireless is letting you say yes a lot more with real unlimited data. Yes to sharing pics of the ugliest holiday sweaters. Yes to checking weather on the go for surprise sledding trip. And with a free bonus sign up, let the yes-tivities begin.
No way!
Yes way. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart or straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 1/5/25 while supplies last at participating stores. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store activation on select single line plans. Limit of 2 phones per customer. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com.
You ever try fixing your car and realize you're missing that one part? Yeah, been there. That's why eBay's my go-to. They've got millions of parts guaranteed to fit. I'm talking brake pads for when yours have seen one too many miles of stop and go. Oil filters, because you don't mess around with your engine care. Even got this cold air intake on my watch list. I might just go for it. Keep the ride cool and your DIY streak hot. Find all the parts you need at prices you'll love. Guaranteed to fit every time. eBay. Things people love. Eligible.
This is Jay of Paul's Termite and Pest Control. There are many companies out there selling pest treatment programs at prices which seem too good to be true. Like most things, you get what you pay for. Let's separate the fact from the fiction. Fiction. The price these companies offer includes all visits needed to keep a home pest-free. Fact. Their prices only include regular visits for exterior treatments. If you encounter pests inside your home, these companies will charge you for additional visits. Is that really pest prevention? At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we always apply exterior treatments, but our plan includes a significant difference. Whenever you encounter an interior problem, Paul's technicians are there, usually the same day you call, and there is no extra charge. With ProShield, you'll never pay extra for providing the service we promised. Pest prevention for your home, and we'll be there as many times as needed to honor our commitment with no extra charge. Paul's Termite and Pest Control is a local company that proudly served the Tallahassee area for over 50 years.
For the elimination of termites and any other pests,
call Paul's. We'll get them all.
And we make lawns greener, too.
The best happy hour in the city is at Café de Martín and El Bar. All day, every day, you can find great deals at Café de Martín while enjoying the best outdoor seating Tallahassee has to offer. Sip away on 2-for-1 house wines, chilcanos, and margaritas all day long, Monday through Thursday. Plus 2-for-1 pisco sours and margaritas on Fridays and Saturdays, and 2-for-1 mimosas for Sunday brunch. Come join us at Café de Martín, where every hour is happy hour, in the Esposito Shopping Center on Capitol Circle Northeast.
Science-backed, technology-tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50. For those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
Broadcasting live from Florida's capital city, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
this evening on the YouTube channel, Warchant TV, same one you're on right now. Maybe not this feed, but maybe not this particular JCS feed, but you see it right there. Wake Up Warchant tonight at 6 o'clock. So Aslan and Corey getting together for you guys tonight at 6 o'clock. I'm here for you right now, along with Tommy, and we are excited about the changes and excited about the tenor, I think, too. Listen, we didn't do this in the first hour. We should probably bring it up. Sorry, I had a second there. I needed to get back to the mic because I was too busy trying to make a bet for Jacob Bridgman to maybe win the Bermuda.
Jacob Bridgman has entered the chat. He must have been, on the Johnny Pax tour last year?
I don't know.
Little Corn Ferry action?
Horses for courses pick right there, buddy. Bridgman loves Bermuda.
Bridgman. And the Lewin career forecaster
I was
loves
just about to say that sounded,
Bridgman.
yeah. The Lewin, yeah. Bridgewater. Bridgman it is. Got it. Wager made. Hey, man. Guys, think about me on Sunday when you're casually flipping around watching your NFL games. You're like, Bridgman 2 off the lead. How about Cameron? Yeah, trying to get those outrights, man. It sets up your golf bets for the rest of the year. Rest of the year. You know, I'm sad. This is a Montreal Alouettes t-shirt, and I've only worn it 3 times, and it's doing the thing from when you were a little kid, and the iron-on is breaking apart.
Yeah.
It's all breaking apart. And I
didn't get your money's worth.
No, in some ways I love it because it reminds me of being a little kid wearing shirts that are breaking apart, like your favorite superhero. You know, like the iron-on would fall off.
Oh yeah.
Spider-Man is falling off. He's missing an arm. But yeah, my Alouettes helmet is falling to pieces. When I was a kid, this is back when ESPN programming was minimal. I'm that kind of old. I remember the start of, the genesis, the birth of ESPN. And we all said to each other, many of you of the right age know exactly what I'm talking about. Wait a minute. There's a network that's just going to cover sports 24 hours every day? This is incredible. But then you realize they didn't really have the rights to anything much, and they were trying to piece it together. So that's how Fowler got started in the industry. He was doing the high school sports scholastic show, and he was just like this kid who would be out at these, it was all high school highlights, and that would be a show. Then there was a show about rodeo, and then there was this is how I got into, at the time, very briefly, they had Australian rules football, which I loved and still love, and wish it were on a regular basis and I didn't have to hunt it down. When my brother John moved to Australia and lived there for 4 years, he became an avid Australian rules football fan and tailgated much the way we do at NFL and college games. He said it was incredible. Loved it. And it's cold as hell over there when it's summer here. So he would send pictures in a big jacket at games watching Australian rules football. It'd be June, and I'd be like, why are you so... Oh, that's right. And that briefly was internationally, and you could never find it here, a video game and an EA Sports. Can you imagine how cool that would be?
It'd be very confusing to start.
Yeah, but they did it with rugby too. You could find it. That said, anyhow, I couldn't believe there was a network that they had for a long time Canadian football. And you could fall in love with teams. And I remember learning about the Rouge and then watching some of these players that I saw in college and go, oh, that dude played at such and such and such. That's where he went. I wonder whatever happened to him. He was fast as hell, still is. So that kind of stuff.
Well, maybe that's where a certain head coach will go if this iteration 2.0 doesn't work out for him. So he could be the Alouettes head coach.
Danny McManus and those guys. And remember, you and I talked.
McManus could chuck it, man.
He could sling it. He could sling it.
I disrespected him just because I'd never watched him because he was old.
He was awesome.
And then I saw some stuff during COVID. I was like, oh yeah, the cannon.
And ended up being prolific.
Yeah,
and winning Grey Cups.
He could play. That was impressive. The number one thing I learned about Florida State football during COVID was damn, Danny McManus had an arm.
Well, and
he was ahead of his time.
I played football with a guy named Ladarian Allen, who was as talented as they come. He should have played in the NFL 4 years. He was part of that team that I played with, William and Tommy and all those guys. Ladarian never got mentioned, but he was a stud. He was huge. He was like 6'4", 230 in high school, not somebody to toy with. And he was the kind of athlete that could play safety at that size.
Wow.
Yeah, so you didn't want to, but anyhow, didn't make great decisions. I don't want to call the guy out, but he ended up briefly in the Canadian Football League. I remember thinking, man, I hope this is the success story it should be.
Buddy, the most talented golfer I've ever seen, I worked with. I should never have worked with him.
Right,
you know?
right.
I was working with him in the clubhouse, in the kitchen at the country club. And we would get cut every day around lunch, just after lunch in the summer because it was too hot. So every day we would go out and play for 3 hours. And that dude could do things with a golf ball before the Pro V let you do those things with a golf ball.
Right.
Just unbelievable. 320 carry in those days. Couldn't imagine what he would do with the technology now.
I see people in the chat are arguing about, and it's specific to Dan Mullen in this case, names of players and, names of coaches that people will throw out there as in, like, hey, what about this guy? What about that guy? And some people's response to that is, well, no, I don't want a former Gator. I don't care where they coached, who they coached, if they can coach. If they're good at the things we need to be good at, recruiting, evaluating, calling plays, installing a defense. But it's interesting, Tom, because people will say yes to Will Muschamp and no to Dan Mullen.
Right. Justin says he wants both, and then let's ride. I don't know. Do you have any alarm bells go off? I do. Not because of where they were, because they were hot commodities 6 years ago, 10 years ago. It's a new age. I'm not saying that we have to find somebody who's under the age of 40. Just, this isn't exactly when Muschamp was the first coordinator to get paid $1 million a year. We were at ESPN, just beginning our time at ESPN.
Yeah.
That's forever ago. I mean, has the game, the way it's played now, passed those guys by? Because you need them to be recruiters as well. They can't just come in and be X's and O's guys. We don't need to do that song and dance. They have to be able to hit the trail and hit the trail effectively.
Okay, so you're going to cite age as a concern in the recruiting wars for some guys that have been in the game for a long time. And you're right to do so, if only because it seems to be a young man's game. It's hard to recruit if you're older because that's a lot of travel and a lot of investment and annoying ass kids. And I get it. But that said, Will Muschamp, just so you know, brother, is my age. He's 53, Tom. You're going to insult me.
Okay. I mean, everybody is piling on Odell Haggins, and he's not much older than you are.
But he looks 1,000.
Oh, I see.
And he walks. How you act matters.
Dan Mullen doesn't act hip with the kids.
No,
I wouldn't let him around kids.
No, Dan is problematic in a lot of ways. And his wife out here trying to kiss the world is weird too.
Right.
No, I get it. Now, he's a great play caller.
If they do the Seminole cooking competition at Dan Mullen's house, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, I will say this. That's the funny thing about Dan Mullen. He's really good with quarterbacks, and he's a really good play caller. And that he's always been that. That's how he kept getting jobs. He's had success, but I'm less about Dan Mullen and more about Will Muschamp. What I think I would get with Muschamp, no doubt, is a hard-nosed defense. And one that, listen, that guy is not going to handle people half-stepping, half-assing their way. Trying to play defense is hard. He played it. He's played it in a rugged conference where the speed and the hitting and all of it, obviously as an analyst at Georgia under Kirby, he's a guy. I mean, I do think you could look at a guy like that and say, all right, let's see where he's at. Let's see where his head's at. Bring him in here. Let's talk to him. It's his last best shot, by the way. It's his last best shot.
If you do that with either of them, I wouldn't do it with both.
No.
There's only so many guys that can still hit the road. I think there are restrictions for that still, right? I mean, like you can instruct as an analyst now when kids get on campus, but I don't think as an analyst you can hit the road and recruit. So if you did do that with Muschamp, then you would have to have a complete position coach staff of grinders, guys that would just get on the trail and live it and breathe it.
You would. Your problem, for people that don't remember, so Dan Lanning, go ahead. Yep, that's my guy. And Dan Lanning left Georgia to become the head coach at Oregon, where he's had a ton of success. In the moment that Dan left, Muschamp was promoted in that moment to a co-defensive coordinator, is what they called it at the time. Schumann is the other guy. They won the national championship in 2022. Okay. That was the second time that he had won a title with Georgia and the coaching staff, his third overall. They defeated TCU in the national championship as well. You remember that. So Georgia in the offseason this year announced that he was going to transition to an off-the-field analyst role. And do you guys remember the reason for it? The reason was that he wanted to spend more time with his family. So if you've got an alarm bell, it's not that he's 53. It's that he's easing his way out of the game because he wants to spend more time with his family.
Or did he get in trouble and this is like what happened to Schiano?
Well, if he got in trouble and it was because he was cheating and bringing in players off of other rosters, then we need him. I like that kind of cheating.
They're getting around to show cause.
If that's why he got in trouble, he's my guy. Come on down. We need that kind of stick-to-itiveness, Will.
And if I was going to argue against myself in that point that, hey, don't you want young guys that are made for this era? It wouldn't be the worst idea in the world to have somebody, either coordinator or a position coach.
Who's a former head coach who's older than Mike?
Who's a sage. You got to have your Tom Moore. Like even Bruce Arians, old as he was, had Tom Moore on the staff in Tampa Bay. He's still there. But It's nice to be able to bounce ideas off of somebody who's done it at the level, at the highest level. And I'm not saying that Muschamp's won an Addy, but he's seen it. He's been through it.
Right. He never has as a head coach, but he
As a head
certainly
coach.
did. He certainly did as a
Right.
coordinator.
I'm talking about as a head coach.
But you know what's weird, though, Tom? And here's the thing. I would think, now, I'm not advocating one way or the other here, but what I will tell you is this, that Will Muschamp largely failed as a head coach. For those that don't remember, he went 7-6, 11-2, 4-8, and 6-5 at Florida before he was fired. His overall record there in the SEC, 17-15 in conference play, 28-21 overall. All right, he gets the South Carolina job.
When he got fired from Florida really quickly, it was the greatest response at the end. He said, well, they wanted me to clean up the program.
Yeah, and he had.
And I needed to, and I did. So what do you want?
Yeah. No, they wanted more wins.
That's right.
Along with the cleaning
Urban
up.
left a mess.
Yeah. Well, he got paid to clean it up and did, and they summarily fired his ass.
Yes, they did.
South Carolina said, well, we like you. We'll bring you in. They did in 2016. His first year didn't go well. Won 6 games. However, the year after, they won 9. So he got that new car smell, that new coach bump that you get when you come to a new place, improved recruiting, had a winning 9-4 record. They won the Outback Bowl. Then they took a step back.
No doubt over Iowa.
Probably. Or Michigan. Seems like South Carolina and Michigan were always playing. And then they went 7-6, lost the Belk Bowl. Then they went 4-8 and 2-5. Halfway through, they said, you have a good day. And that was the end of it. Mike Bobo finished it out. Now,
it was Michigan. A very nice call.
Thank you.
26-19.
Here's what I'll tell you. I think he's not a threat. His career head coaching record, and remember, he was the head coach in waiting at Texas. His career head coaching record is 56-51. So you could bring in a guy who had been a head coach in the SEC, not once but twice. He's been a decorated and successful DC everywhere he's ever been. In that league, all right, And you wouldn't, if you're Mike Norvell, be worried about him trying to take your job. Two Live Hollywood says, Jeff, Tom, let's get it, boys. Mike is in a tricky spot. If you knock it out the park with the coordinator hires and both sides improve big time, but not in the win column, you just hired your replacement. Sure. This is the result. Love it, Two Live. Thanks for the contribution, and thanks for listening and talking and hanging out with us. But I'm going to tell you that that's the precarious position you've put yourself in by failing miserably this year. This is no different than Mike might feel in his heart of hearts. I guarantee it. I guarantee it. He's not going to say it. Can't say it. He's smart enough not to say it. Didn't say it at the press conference the other day. Mike, in no way, thinks that the problems with this offense are because of his play calling. No chance he thinks that. He might be disappointed with himself. He might wish he had a few back. Can't name a coordinator who doesn't. But he does not think that the reason for their failures is because he's lost it as a play caller. He thinks it's because his offensive line coach failed him. The defense is terrible. Any number of factors. They missed on the quarterback. It could be anything, right? He might blame himself for a lot of those things.
Yes, it's important to point.
Yes,
it comes across that he feels very culpable here as well.
As he should. He is culpable, and there is no other way to look at it. How you arrive at 2-10 and arguing about the whys and hows is kind of irrelevant, at least publicly. You know, privately, he has to know that whether or not he thinks he's an elite play caller, average play caller, you're 2-10. This is a classic Bill Parcells. You are what your record says you are. So it doesn't really matter how you arrived at that place of failure. It's a place of failure. So to me, he knows he can't say, yeah, I'm going to continue to call plays. Even if in his head, he's laying there like, sons of bitches don't know what they're talking about. I can call a play. We just can't block. Right? Like, he might think that.
Right. Which is my fault.
Apparently
I can't trust a guy that I've trusted for years.
Right. So it's just a vicious cycle. But
and then when we do, we can't catch. This is the position I played. I can't trust.
But that's on me because I let these guys in, right? Yeah.
That's the look. Yep, I know. It's on me.
It is. But you would be resentful and angry and all of those things. But bottom line is, I think if I were in his position, and it's precarious, I get it. And you know what? Two Live, you're right about this. But think of it this way. And I want to go back to this thing with the calling of plays. Mike's in a position where even if he doesn't think it's his fault for play calls per se, and I kind of agree with him a little bit, but the point would be, even if that's the case, you lose the benefit of the doubt. It's like your kid gets in trouble at school and comes home and explains to you the situation and why he chose to do what he did and arguing with a teacher, let's say. And the first time he talks to you about it, you give him the benefit of the doubt. He seems like a reasonable kid. He's giving you a good reason, and maybe him and the teacher just have a personality conflict. So you're like, kind of curious. All right. And you talk with the teacher and you talk to your son and you say, let's get it together and and then you move forward. Next year, he's in another class and gets into trouble with the teacher again. And this time it's a different teacher, different class, different subject altogether. Okay. That's on you, man. I'm done. You got a problem with everybody? This is you. The guy who's had 7 divorces and blames all the women. Yeah, man, you suck as a husband. You're the problem, dude. So for Mike, he's in a situation where I might not be the problem as a play caller, but man, they said we're scoring 13 points a game. Sorry, dog. We're done here. I don't care if it's your fault or not. We're done here. You got to give it up.
And I swear, the sticker last year on the 2023 defense says we're going to get 40 miles to the gallon. And you came in at a brisk 24. You know, like we got there, but the tank ain't nearly as full as I thought it was going to be when we get there.
So you got to give it all up. And the best way to handle any of this is to segue nicely, unlike men who are middle-aged, into that stage of your life. Don't go get a wig. Don't buy a brand new Ferrari because you're suddenly old and 21-year-olds don't look at you anymore. Accept it. It's part of the aging process. Try to look as good as you can look at 50 or 60 or whatever it is, okay?
There might be a TA out there for you. TAs tend to think older, like older men.
But you've got to wear that cardigan. Invest wisely. Eat sensibly. Get up early like the rest of us old folk. Embrace it. For soon that river will escape to the sea. That's the way it works.
Transitions lenses are right around the corner, pal. Embrace it.
But if you embrace it, you become embraced. People love people who are happy with the station than they're in life. We know people were like, well, that's not my cup of tea, but he seems to love it.
You know what kind of actually kicks ass? If you give it a chance, being at the bar for 2 to 3 hours and being done by 6:37, it's kind of awesome.
Instead of 11.
Instead of getting there at 10 and leaving at midnight.
Oh, yeah, that sounds absurd.
Because once you get to 12:15, it's 2 a.m. It's the funniest thing. 12:15 doesn't turn to 12:16. It turns to the lights coming on. Last call. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But
And what have I wrought?
you get in there around nice little 4:45, 5 o'clock action. You're done by 6:45, 7. It's the greatest. You're going to get some good sleep.
But my whole point of saying any of this is that, hey, man, the coolest part of all of that is that you now have no choice. So you're not in limbo. There is no limbo. You're doing this. This is what's happening. It's like you've been approached. Your wife has said, that's it. And you're like, I have no interest in divorce. Looks like I'm doing this. That's how that works. I'm not up for losing half. So this is what happens, right? My man doesn't want to lose his job. In essence, he's been told, hey, man, changes need to be made. You know it and I know it.
So we're having a garage sale.
And this is what's happening. And now, if you embrace it, it can be fun because, look, you still get to be the dude. You still get to be the guy with less responsibility while making the same amount of money. Turn your attention and hyper-focus on the things that you regretted not being able to pay close enough attention to, which led to this disaster. It's that simple. It's that simple.
There's a different room in this athletic department that's going to be pissed off by these changes because you're going to be in that room more often. The people in there are not going to feel comfortable. And if you see that look on their face that you are bothering them, you're doing your job.
Yes.
You are succeeding. That's where you need to be.
I mean, it's kind of fun to think about, but you have to look at it that you have to say, this is my status in life right now. This is where it's at. This is what I did. This is what's led me to this moment. And I either embrace it or I push back and I resent it and I lash out and I'm angry and I try to really, really micromanage again. And I'm fired in 2 years.
I know. Sounds like fun in that film room. You hear them yucking it up in there, talking about a game plan. I know you want to be in that room.
Go do yoga.
Yep. This is why
do yoga. Get your mat. Right. Go get your mat.
Remember when Chris Thompson, when you were but a 20-year-old lad, sent some pizzas in there? Go order some pizzas for him. But you don't walk in that door.
The beauty of it is they still answer to you. And if something pisses you off, you can still walk in there anytime you want. You got to pick and choose your battles. You got to know when to know. You got to know when to say, hey, man, it's not what we do. What's cool is that there have been others before you who transitioned just like this and did it to great success. Go read Education of a Coach, David Halberstam, Bill Belichick. Great book. It's a how-to. I screwed up in Cleveland. I pissed everybody off. I did some good things. That's why I got second and third chances. But I really lament that I did this wrong and this wrong and this wrong. And if I ever get another chance, that won't happen again. I'll get that right. And it won't come back to bite me. And then I can go do this, this, and this. And so in time, those mistakes that I've learned from made me a much better head coach, even though I'm doing less of the day-to-day stuff that I have to remove myself from now, such as being a play caller, such as sitting in those meetings. I can now turn my attention to all of the things I got wrong. Again, I'm not even half-stepping here. I think that's exactly the way that you would have to look at it. It's easier said than done because we all have egos. We all have egos, and you would be looking at a guy and you'd say, this dude here, I'm a better coach than he is. I'm a better coordinator than he is. It's why my star rose the way that it did. It's why I got tabbed to be the head coach at Memphis. It's why at a young age I was the head coach at Florida State. This guy just brought in. It's 57 years old. Has never been a head coach. And I got to let him take it. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
Yes, you do.
Look, man, you can go back to making $750K
And
or
be a
to $2
coordinator.
million
Yeah,
to be
right.
a coordinator. And like, look, if that's what you want to do,
right,
then finish the gig here and then go do that. Simplify your life. Be at peace with making 1.2 a year and finishing top 15 in the country in offense, if that's what you want to do. But you're making 10 right now. And it's so we finish in the top 15, top 12, top 10 of the country in everything we do.
You and I had a theory, and I think it still holds up because I think a lot of the weight that held him back and that saddled him and affected his personality and caused problems on game day and beyond would be removed. And that is, we both believe, and I think to varying degrees, I believe this still, Jimbo Fisher would be a very good OC in the NFL, where his only role is to develop the offense and the game plan Sunday to Sunday.
Oh, man. On a Tuesday or Wednesday, what about this? What do we do that? How about we do this instead? Well, in the 70s, they tried this.
Correct. Like, think about this. You don't have to worry about the draft. You don't have to worry about game day, the whole operation, everything involved. You don't have to worry about arguing with officials. You don't have to worry about free agency. You don't have to worry about any. Your job is to call plays, man. And I think football. You've always known football, and you know how to exploit.
I've never seen somebody when in their rhythm. And again, limited.
Oh, and also, by the way, he screwed it all up. He ended up running 40 plays a game. I mean, like, he would have to have some mandates from somebody, but just in terms of exploiting matchups, creating opportunity.
Yes. I only have 20 years of looking at this program compared to some of you out there who, have 40 or 50 years of it. And they saw Bowden in his heyday. That must have been something.
It was
that
awesome.
Must have been something.
Legendarily, people talk about what he was, right?
But in the last 20 years of being an adult and watching this program, when Jimbo got in a rhythm, oh my.
Oh, you were in trouble.
That was something.
Well, it leaves people because, and really smart minds. Listen, John Gruden, as a play caller on Sundays, when he had a quarterback who understood his very complicated system and novel-like play calls, he could work magic. I've mentioned this on the air before. My conversations on and off the record with Brad Johnson are some of my favorite conversations because he would talk to me about what it was like having to work with and for John Gruden. And he would bring up the impossible task of making that guy happy with any play, any game, any quarter, any execution, whatever it might be, right? But also he would admit that he was never better, that guy made him better, and that as he proved in time that he had a firm grasp on what they were doing, he got carte blanche. John was like, I trust you. You make the adjustment. You've arrived. You can do it. You don't need me. Now, screw it up. I'm going to talk to you about it. But you see what I'm saying? Like, that kind of thing existed.
Oh, man.
But yeah, but John eventually lost it too.
When he was in his heyday, it would be akin to last year's Florida State offense. Keon Coleman 1 to 2 times a game would be open by 30 yards on all sides. That's what he did with Joey Galloway. We had one weapon, and this is the post-Super Bowl run for Gruden. We had one weapon. It was it. It was Joey Galloway. He
His
practiced during the week.
And once a game, he was running 40 yards down the field with nobody around him.
Nobody around him.
Yeah.
And, it happened in week 1 and 2. You think the league will adjust. They never did.
No.
He was always wide open. How do you do that?
At least once.
At least once.
Between
Between 1 to 2 times
You'd see the ball go in the air, be like, bet that's to Galloway, and I bet there's nobody around him.
What?
Your Healthy Happy Hour, a natural and healthier way to experience a carefree moment. We need a lot of carefree moments. Watching this team has initiated my search for the carefree. There's no doubt. I'm going to save you money if you're down. cornbreadhemp.com/warchant for Jeff Cameron Show users. You see what I did there? You might say Jeff Cameron Show listeners. I say for my Jeff Cameron Show users, cornbreadhemp.com/warchant Use code WARCHANT for 30% off your first order. That doesn't suck. All natural. And you know what? I will tell you, as somebody who partook early on with my friends from Cornbread Hemp, I've enjoyed my bottle. I think you will too. Get 30% off of it right now. cornbreadhemp.com/warchant.
Of business since 1945. When you call Wooden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Like Wooden's top-of-the-line bath enclosures that provide style and luxury at an affordable price. Eye-catching storefronts are a specialty at Wooden Glass. We'll help you design it and install it. Wooden Glass, the first name in glass replacement. Call 222-5781.
Pinch a Penny Pools has the largest selection of premium hot springs hot tubs in the city. You might even call it Tallahassee's Hot Tub Hub. 12,000 square feet of hot tubs, with over 50 of them on site. Over 20,000 gallons of tub capacity to choose from. That's 4,620,000 cubic inches of hot tubs. But I digress. So why should you own a hot tub from Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas, you might ask? Well, I'll tell you. Number one, health benefits, of course. The healing powers of soaking in a hot bubbling pool of water go back centuries. Google it. Number two, Pinch a Penny has hot tubs with technology called Freshwater IQ. It gives you real-time chemical readings and tells you exactly what to add to keep the water at peak perfection, with automated analysis to help you control the chlorine and pH. It's hot tubs for dummies. Sign me up. Number three, they have the best prices, of course. Plus, you get a free accessory and no interest financing. Easy peasy. But if you don't want to take my word for it, check them out yourself. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas. Locally owned, locally operated, and the easiest way to find relaxation at home.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future. Know your body and transform your life with DexaFit Tallahassee, your go-to for science-backed health insights. Their DEXA scan gives you the most accurate body composition available, measuring bone density, muscle mass, in both subcutaneous and visceral fat. Get the data you need to track progress and make real changes. Your VO2 max is the best indicator of health and longevity, but it offers more than just a number. It shows respiratory function, calories burned at different intensities, and whether your body burns fat or carbs, helping you train smarter. DexaFit's RMR test reveals how many calories you burn at rest and the type of fuel your body uses, so you can dial in your diet for weight loss, muscle gain, or maintenance. And their red light therapy soothes sore muscles, reduces inflammation, and rejuvenates your skin. Right now, get a DEXA scan and red light therapy for just $99. That's a $184 value. Call 850-510-7728 or visit DexaFit Tallahassee's website to book. Know your body and transform your life this fall with DexaFit. Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachia Parkway. Science-backed, technology tracked, and coach-led. Hey, Jeff Cameron here. You've heard me rave about the benefits of Orange Theory Fitness and the proven track record of science-backed interval training. Well, now Orange Theory Fitness has done it again, adding more ways for you to improve your health and look your best. In addition to the always great standard workouts, OTF has added Tread 50 and Strength 50 for those in the mood to just lift for an afternoon or attack those cardio goals for the day. Take the guesswork out of exercise. Make sure you're getting the most out of each and every workout. Orange Theory Fitness, location Midtown Tallahassee and Village Square Boulevard.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Not asks a question. Do we need a big name to change the momentum of the program? Will anything happen with small name DC and OC hired? I don't think so, but my opinion. I was about to cough. Had to catch myself not.
Your throat was in a what?
So I don't think it's required of you to go out and get a huge name. I think what is required of you is to not miss on whoever it is. The guy you hire could initially perhaps create a wave of momentum. Sure, big names do that, and maybe you'd be excited about that. We've seen a lot of big names get hired in the past all over the country. Jimbo tried it, Petrino, and it failed miserably, and it was always going to fail.
Well, did Jimbo try that, or did?
Well, the university made him do it, but you get the point. He's a name, and he had success. But again, I'm not so hung up on big names as I am. Like, if you identify properly an up and coming superstar in the game, listen, go back to LSU's national championship run, and Burrow goes from just north of pedestrian the year prior to putting up the best numbers we've ever seen in a singular season in college football. And at that moment, everybody went, well, who's this guy? Who's the OC for this team? Now, I'll grant you, if I had those receivers with that running game and the talent that Joe Burrow possesses, I might be able to call plays too.
Yes, but you're talking about setting all-time records.
All-time records and some things that are just – go back and look at those LSU stats.
That means that everybody in the organization did their part. There's no way that you can set all-time records where the offensive coordinator / play caller is an anchor to the process. You can win things like a conference championship in 10 games, and maybe even in this era win a title if your defense is good enough. But if you're setting all-time efficiency, all-time total output records, then everybody in your organization has to be badass.
Yes. And who went and did that? Ed Orgeron, who is, I gotta be careful. Ed's who he is.
We'll see him at the Senior Frogs.
Ed went out and
on spring break.
There's a lot going on with Ed at the time that it happened. But what he did was recognize the need to bring in some folks that could help out and get the most out of what was an elite team. And if you go back and look at that team, it's insane. Clyde Edwards-Helaire was on that team, lest we forget, and he was really good. Patrick Queen was on that team, and he was really, really good. Terrence Marshall Jr. was on that team, was really, really good.
Justin Jefferson,
Joe Burrow, on and on and on we
Chase.
Go. All-time roster. Great team.
Pretty good players.
By the way, in that game, Joe Burrow threw for 463 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also added 58 yards rushing, including a touchdown run. He accounted for all but 107 of LSU's 628 yards of total offense. He set NCAA records for points and yards in a season, set the NCAA single season mark for passing touchdowns, 60, and total touchdowns, 65. It can be argued that that is the best team of all time.
Even their social media team was all over it, their media production team, because they had that iconic walk out of the tunnel with
and it
Burrow.
Was awesome. Yes, if you recall, that was incredible, wasn't it? Yeah, I'd forgotten about that, Tom. That's right. Where they had, and that was, I think it was at that time we were so mad with our social media team.
Yeah.
That we were like, well, what the hell, man?
Do something. We're saying do something, and they're saying Burrow with the Baton Rouge flare on it and that perfect high definition camera. And those fans who are insane. Doesn't matter what time of day, but preferably at night. And that's what they got.
Yeah, they did. And as it turned out, they had a boy wonder who Ed remembered from a coaching clinic and was like, who's that kid that asked all the right questions? And they hired him, and he's in the NFL, and I can't remember his name.
Joe Brady.
That's correct. couldn't remember the Joe part. Like Coach Brady.
I wonder what you were rifling for. I'm like, what's he looking for?
No, I was looking up stats. I was looking up the numbers. I knew it was Brady. I couldn't remember Joe, and I was going to be like, well, Coach Brady, and that would have sounded weird. I couldn't remember his first name. So, but Joe Brady was this guy that just kind of came in and was somebody that he was impressed by a coaching clinic. He remembered him, and he didn't really have anything to him. There was no great resume to Joe Brady, right? But that's why, I mean, you can hire guys that change your program, that change everything about what you're doing, and they don't have to have big names, but you got to get it right.
Well, the other thing you have to have, so there's a wish list of things that we all have, but we might prioritize differently. Like point number 1, has transfers at the ready if he takes another job to come with him, namely a quarterback or offensive line or skill positions. Point number 2, natural recruiting successes and ties to the footprint in which this program operates, namely the Southeast, South Florida, North Florida, South Georgia. Anywhere in the Southeast, they've got wins there. And then number 3, an offense that is fun to play in, has its own unique aspects, and promotes toughness. Like, now we could reorder those differently depending upon what member of the staff is prioritizing what they want out of their new offensive coordinator. But you got to hit on some of those. And to me, name isn't any one of the priorities. It's, can you do those things?
The promotes toughness is where the Muschamp hire works. You can't play defense for him and not be tough. By the way, Joe Brady's 35 years old. He is the current OC of the Buffalo Bills. Now, we forget, but this is this is a William & Mary graduate. He's got 2 degrees from William & Mary. He's a smart guy. He's been innovative. He worked as a graduate assistant with Penn State. But anyhow, he was the passing game coordinator with LSU when they went and broke all these records. It vaulted him into the league with the Carolina Panthers, later the Buffalo Bills. Then he came back with the Buffalo Bills. Long story short, that dude's 35, probably going to be a head coach at some point in that league. Not somebody we could bring in to run the offense because, he's the offensive coordinator of the Buffalo Bills. I was going to say place a call. Because he's really good. He's from Miami. It's a good hire if you could get him, maybe making him assistant head coach. But Mike would be like,
Yeah, exactly. That's the dance you're doing here.
That's the guy that if we hired tomorrow and made him the assistant head coach OC, Mike's like, every 2 seconds.
Offer calls a presser to introduce him. Why didn't you call a press conference to introduce anybody else? Well, I mean, look, he is the co-head coach. No. Assistant head coach.
Oh, right. Sorry.
Yes.
That is.
Yes. Good correction, Mike. He
Oh,
is the assistant head coach.
that's correct.
He's not the co-head coach at all. That's an excellent point.
Oh, man. My point was that nobody knew who Joe Brady was until they did. And, a lot of people weren't aware of Cignetti, and we'll see. I think the funny thing about the coaching industry
You
is
think he's a fraud.
I don't think he's a fraud. That's putting it harshly. I am weary of these 1-year success stories. I think when you bring a bunch of players with you like he did and you have a system, and listen, he's buttoned up. He's the guy that worked for Saban. I think he can coach. I'm not saying he can't coach. To listen to Florida State fans right now, or people who are just sort of, lukewarm into the college football world, they think he's the best coach in the nation. I'm not willing to go there. I don't know that that's true. Their schedule's 103rd ranked. It could very well be if Michigan were to fail against Northwestern, and they won't, but if they did, Indiana may finish a year where all of their wins come over teams that didn't even go to a bowl.
Well, look, I think he's a better coach than Dan Lanning personally.
Oh, you just get the hell out of here. That's ridiculous. Just stop it. That is ridiculous. But
he's not half the man Dan Lanning is.
It's ridiculous. Dan's about to win a national championship, and you're out here promoting. Maybe Oregon will have to play Indiana in the playoff, Tom. You'll get your wish. Stiggs will get exposed as the fraud that he is by the man,
That's
Dan
right.
Letty.
Yep, there you go. We'll find out who the real coach is. Ain't Eugene.
It's the Jeff Cameron Show on 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
This is meteorologist Paul Cromley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Daytime highs approaching 80 this afternoon under overcast skies. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance of rain showers tonight. Lows level off around 66. Cloudy. Slight chance of rain showers tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 75. Cloudy skies expected. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 75 degrees.
This is Hugh Tomlinson, president of the Tallahassee Quarterback Club. I invite you to join our historic club supporting local football since 1949. Don't miss our exciting events featuring legendary and popular football personalities. Get updates from FSU coaches, win great door prizes, and stay on top of all local football. It's time for our annual awards jamboree. Don't miss keynote speaker Doug Flutie on December 10th. Get your tickets or join our club at TallahasseeQBClub.com. That's TallahasseeQBClub.com. Get in the game. Get in the club.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the award-winning and revolutionary online learning program that's changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Designed by teachers and early childhood learning experts, ABC Mouse seamlessly aligns with what your child is already learning in school. And with over 7,000 learning activities and more than 650 lessons, it's the most comprehensive early learning site on earth.
I have been teaching for 13 years, and I've never seen a program like ABC Mouse. It encompasses science, math, reading, social studies.
It's just endless what they can learn on ABC Mouse. I've always had to use 20 websites, and now I can just use one.
Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month. But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio, abcmouse.com/radio.
Sponsored by Age of Learning.
There is no Bigfoot, Eddie. Would you stop with that nonsense?
There's a Bigfoot, Jeff.
I wish there were. By the way, I don't want you to point to me as the guy that takes all the fun out of the room. I wish there was the Loch Ness Monster. I wish there was the Bigfoot. I wish there was the Chupacabra. All the things.
They're all mythical except for the Bigfoot. The Sasquatch.
The Bigfoot?
The Bigfoot. There's big feet. There's lots of them.
So like different, breeds, like different kinds
there's
of.
There's like families. There's different families. And,
so if they're in the snow, you call them a Sasquatch
or the Yeti. Right,
yep,
and then here in Florida, that's a skunk ape, and I've
never heard that one. By the way, why do you think it's real? We would have found them by now.
They're the hide and seek champions of the world. Nobody finds the Bigfoot.
I think you believe in Bigfoot.
I do believe in Bigfoot.
You don't believe.
I believe in Bigfoot.
Don't tell anybody you believe in Bigfoot.
I would go look for Bigfoot, but he scares me.
Florida, bringing the flavor and flair of Cuban food to Tallahassee since 1996.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Yeah, Castellanos is in the portal. I don't want him. Justin wanted to know if we should go get him. I don't think so. He's not very good. It's wildly inconsistent, but it's hard to say anything negative about a lot of the quarterbacks that might come available when you've watched us play offense this year.
Because
it really
the retort is obvious.
Yeah, no, I get it. But I always operate under the presumption that we're succeeding in what is our ceiling, and is that quarterback somebody that can get you there? Not just would he bring something to the table as we currently exist that none of our guys have. Because to me, that's fine. Yeah, he would be able to do some things that our guys cannot do currently. But if we're operating at peak efficiency, he's not your quarterback. So that's kind of how that works. It's funny. This is the argument that we get into a lot with a certain receiver on this team.
Yeah. I know this argument.
Right. And people get mad at me sometimes. They're like, he's our best player. Why do you dog him? I'm like, man, well, I live in the world of what ought to be. And he ought not be on this football team if we're any good.
Yeah, see, I argue something a little bit differently. He's not your best player if he doesn't play for his teammates to block on the perimeter.
Well, you're not going to have to worry about me pushing back.
Yeah, he shouldn't be asked to do that very often because we have a habit of asking those guys two things that we ask short receivers to do too often in this offense. It has nothing to do with this year.
Catch fades inexplicably and block out on the perimeter.
Why?
Neither
should
be happening. Also, just stop recruiting people that are 5'8" to play receiver. Stop doing it.
I don't know that I go that far.
Well, I will.
Yes, you will.
2 Live Hollywood says Mike has to coach this. Mike has to coach his team like you do your kids. 8-year-old doesn't get treated like a 12-year-old. Yeah, it's 24 team doesn't get coaches like the 23 team. Yeah. As far as these coaches, I'm not concerned. I don't spend a lot of time thinking about, is this a guy that's going to move the needle? We keep coming back to this. I'm not doing that. I'm asking you, and I'm asking the questions of Mike at the time. Is this somebody that's going to bring an element that we're missing in the current coaching staff to the table? Are we going to get something out of these new guys that we didn't get from the others? And that is, a passion for recruiting. Guys that live it, breathe it. That's their whole life. They love it. Can't wait to get out on the road, create those relationships, establish that, and every day work it. If it's a DC, does he require, as a number one trait, that you be physical, that you be tough, that you bring it on each and every play?
I hope these hires aren't short. You won't like them very much.
Oh, they can be short. Their players can't. But they can be. Hell, look at Miami's offensive line coach. He's 5'6", 140 pounds. The lineman there would flick him. Tell you about my friends at Tried and True Consulting, a Seminole-owned business that specializes in payments and business solutions. Tried and True's core expertise includes card, ACH, point of sale, mobile, e-commerce, and hosted payment solutions. Tried and True will help you reduce costs and increase your bottom line. That always sounds nice. Whether you're a retailer, restaurant, licensed professional, or service industry, Tried and True is saving you money. Tried and True's expertise extends to payroll, video menu ad boards, IT services, web design, and social media. It's time to make one call and tell the competition to take it on down the road. Call Don or Joe today at 844-464-6653. That's 844-464-6653. When you do business with Tried and True, they contribute 10% of the net revenue to the battle's end. So go Tried and True today. Call 844-464-6653.
This is Alex from Fulmers. We've been buying gold and silver jewelry, fine watches, and other collectibles for over 45 years. But did you know Fulmers buys and sells gold and silver coins, bars, and bullion? Don't get scammed online or pay high shipping and handling fees. Call or stop by Fulmers for a quick and easy quote. No matter if you're new to investing in bullion or have been collecting a lifetime, Fulmers is your local source for buying, selling gold and silver coins and bullion. Fulmers, more than you might expect, with 2 great locations.
As you probably know, Fulmers buys, sells, and loans on just about anything of value. What you might not know is that when you buy something from us, we guarantee the total satisfaction of your purchase. Buy it, take it home, and if for any reason you decide you don't want it within 7 days, Fulmers will give you 100% of your money back. And if you decide you don't want the item within 30 days, Fulmers will let you exchange it for something you do want. At Fulmers, we guarantee you're going to be happy with your purchase or we'll buy it back. Fulmers, check cashing, pawn service, and sales. 2 times more than you might expect with 2 great locations.
I'm attorney Carrie Roan with Basic Brooks Law Offices, and we believe you. Now, what does that mean? Over and over, we hear from the people that we represent that when they shared their story of how they were injured, either law enforcement, insurance companies, or business owners didn't believe their story. That's why you need an attorney who has your back no matter what. An attorney who starts by believing that you're telling the truth. We are Basic Brooks, and we believe you. Let's talk. 850-777-7777.
From the championship stage to coaching change and everything in between, Warchant.com remains your home for the best FSU football coverage in the business. Brutally honest columns and features, market-leading multimedia presence across video and podcast, the largest FSU fan community with a staff that combines for over 100 years of experience covering the Noles. When change comes, Warchant.com is your home for analysis from every angle. Warchant.com, your ultimate Seminole sports source. Sign up today.
WVFT Greta Tallahassee. This is Real Talk 93.3. More of the Jeff Cameron Show is coming up next. Your sports action update on Real Talk 93.3 with all the latest odds from Vegas. Brought to you by Palmar's Pawn, Gun and Gold. More than you might expect with 2 great locations in Tallahassee.
College basketball coming up today. The Florida State Seminoles at the Tucker Center laying 17 against Tarleton State. The total 150. Florida Atlantic plus 5.5 at UCF. 152 the total at Addition Financial Arena. North Florida on the road at Georgia as a 12-point dog at the Stegman Coliseum. 158.5 the total there. South Florida laying 23.5 at home with Arkansas Pine Bluff. College football Saturday, Florida Gators plus 5 at home with LSU. Georgia laying 9.5 at home at Tennessee. South Florida 3.5-point favorites at Charlotte. Jaguars are a 13-point road dog at the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Cash back for every bet with a GBank signature Visa card. Visa.com/GBank. Mike Son at Real Talk 93.3.
Imagine your team always looking and feeling their best in high-performance technical workwear. Cintas can make it happen. They have garments for almost every job imaginable. And with the Cintas Workwear program, you get freshly laundered garments delivered every week for everyone on your team. Great garments without the bother of laundry. That's a real perk for employees. Find out how Cintas can boost team image and morale. Visit Cintas.com.
Oh, I'm ready!
And get ready for the workday.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like, to check that your seats aren't in the visitor section first before buying tickets.
I'm so excited for this game. I can't believe you got us tickets. Me too. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, checking first is smart. So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds.
This is going to be a long game.
You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary, subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, Northbrook, Illinois.
Time to head out on our annual guys fishing trip. Wait, where's Jimmy?
He just texted me saying he has to swing by his storage unit to get a couple of things. And now there's a truck blocking him in and he won't be here for another hour.
That wouldn't have happened if he had just called Southeast Portable Buildings and got a unit right on his property.
I love mine. I have so much more space in my garage. Now I can finally park my truck in there.
Give them a call today, 850-580-6400. That's 850-580-6400, or visit them online for all their options at southeastportablebuildings.com.
At Paul's Termite and Pest Control, we know if you have something in your home that's not supposed to be there, you want it gone now.
Not in a couple of days, not tomorrow, but today. That's why we offer a same-day guarantee.
If you call Paul's before 12, one of our technicians will be out before 5. We guarantee it.
The health of you, your family, and your pets is why we promise to do everything possible to quickly resolve your problem.
And we do so using the safest chemicals. Notice a pest problem?
Call Paul's Termite and Pest Control before 12, and we're there before 5.
Call Paul's.
We'll get them all.
We're all spending more time at home than we ever have.
And our yards have become more than something we look at through the window. They are now a major part of our refuge.
Now that we're outside more, wouldn't it be great if we could eliminate the things that make us want to run back inside? Pests like mosquitoes and fire ants.
Paul's Pest Control can do just that, and we'll do it for a surprisingly low cost.
Our treatments are done outside. There is never a reason to enter your home.
The weather is beautiful, and now is the time to be outside.
Paul's Termite and Pest Control will help you take your yard back.
Call us for a free consultation.
Imagine for a moment that you are completely weightless in zero gravity. All of the weight and worry of life is melted away, and you fall into a state of profound relaxation. This is what you'll find at Tallulah CBD Mushrooms THC in Railroad Square when you try out their state-of-the-art floating pods. While you're there, shop for the best quality CBD, mushrooms, THC, and kava products available. Shop Tallulah today with 6 locations in Tallahassee and the Kava Bar Lounge in Bannerman Crossing. Online at TallulahSmokes.com.
Florida's capital city. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Orange Theory Fitness on Real Talk 93.3. Now, stop what you're doing and listen closely. It's time for the Jeff Cameron Show in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
That. Thanks for doing that. Thanks for the support. And if you're watching on Warchant TV, we appreciate that very much as well. Good work out of you guys. Good work out of you guys. What's the football game tonight, everybody? What do we got? What's on the table tonight? I know it's still part of the 55 straight days of football being on every night. I didn't bother to look during the break, probably should have done so. Here we go. I am getting to it right now. Schedule. Great radio, Jeff.
I've got it if you want it.
No.
Yeah,
I have
it's
it.
pride.
I have it now.
Pride's taken.
That's right. Kent State and Ohio. I knew that because I was making fun of the fact that Buccaneer Chris way back in the day. Hope you're out there doing well, Buccaneer Chris. Kent at Ohio, Buccaneer Chris. Akron at Northern Illinois. Ooh. Husky Stadium in DeKalb. Yours truly has been to Husky Stadium in DeKalb. I had too much to drink. Not at Husky Stadium, but at a bar near Husky Stadium, near the In-N-Out Burger. DeKalb, Illinois. DeKalb, Tom, cold. Not a lot. Need to get better.
I believe it's in the north of the state.
Yeah, it was part of a different trip that I was making where I ended up in Rockford, Illinois, and all of that. I did Chicago, Rockford, DeKalb, did all this. Good times. Hanging out with unsavory characters and enjoying my youth.
That's right. Fixing boxing matches and so forth.
Kickboxing.
Sorry. Forgive me.
Kickboxing matchups.
Use of the feet.
Going out to a bar afterwards, drinking with firemen who were getting loose, and I got a warm shot of tequila that had soap in the glass. Can you think of anything worse in your life than a woman handing you a warm shot of tequila with soap that she hadn't properly rinsed from the shot glass?
Yes, a man handing me.
Either way, I did that shot and lived to tell about it. But, buddy, that was an instant moment of fear because the bar was crowded. There were a lot of people. We were in the middle of playing pool. I did that shot, turned around, recognized the warmth of the shot and the soap all at once as the tequila is settling into my belly, knowing that that was soap and hot. Damn it. That's just not cool. I was so mad. And I can't, I want to projectile. I want to run out of the bar. I want to do all of the things. But you're around rugged folks that had just been at a kickboxing match and put out fires for a living. You got to buck up. It's your shot.
Could have been a human fire hydrant.
Eastern Michigan and Ohio. So we've got Miami of Ohio and Ohio in action tonight. This feels very much like the kinds of games that should be on tonight. Kent State, Miami of Ohio, Akron, Northern Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Ohio.
Us.
Would we beat any one of those teams playing tonight?
Kent State is 0-9, 0-5 in the MAC, so maybe.
Miami of Ohio is a 30.5-point favorite tonight over Kent State. Feel good about the matchup against Eastern Michigan. Tomorrow night, East Carolina and Tulsa. And, I don't know what it is that I have against Tulsa, but it's something. I don't know if it's Chapman Stadium there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, or what it is, but I don't feel like Tulsa really matters. You know what I think about when I think of Tulsa? I think of two things when I think of Tulsa. I think of the show Cops or any other crime-ridden show in which they document a downtrodden area and the violence and murder and mayhem that occur. And then I think of my dear friend Mark Davidson at the Bob Dylan Museum. But that's it. That's it. That's what I think about.
I'm mad when I see the name Tulsa as well.
I don't like it.
For in my old online dynasty, the legendary one, Tulsa was a primary rival. And I found out that the guy who was captaining that team, coaching that team, was cheating in the dynasty. How low do you have to go?
How do you cheat in the online Tulsa Golden Hurricane dynasty to try to win the American?
Well, because we have head-to-head matchups, right?
Yeah.
So the thing was, he changed all of their awareness ratings to 99, which does not change their overall rating, so you wouldn't detect it.
Oh, he went in and changed the numbers
He
on
manually
you.
edited his players to make them more apt to intercept passes, recover fumbles.
This is bitch made. You can't do that.
And he only won one national title.
How did you catch him?
Oh, it was admitted to us by another member of the league later.
No. I hope you weren't betting real money. That's not right.
No, we weren't. But there was talk of us, reuniting in the league this year. And I said, I'm not going to play if he's in the league. You don't do that. Nobody knew. Nobody was the wiser.
I take issue with the championship. We're taking the banner.
Absolutely.
You didn't win anything.
No. And yes, he won by a half a possession over two of us.
But he didn't.
That's right.
The fake awareness did.
Right. They were always in the place to make the play and come up with the turnovers. And now we know why.
What a remarkable play caller you are, Chad.
Yeah. So when I see Tulsa, that's what I think of.
I think of crime.
Connor Stallions.
I think of stabbings and rampant crime.
Well, that is a crime. I mean, what this guy did.
He was coaching the appropriate team. Yeah, it's probably completely unfair. I'm sure the fine folk of Tulsa are listening to this, recoiling in horror. What's wrong with you, Jeff? What's your problem with Tulsa? You got kinfolk in Oklahoma. Well, how dare you disparage a city in the great state of Oklahoma? My people in Okema look down on the folk in Tulsa. Trash. We furrow our brow and raise an eyebrow when we hear, oh, you're from Oklahoma where? Tulsa? You're kind of from Oklahoma. I kid. Next week we'll probably see, because it's not a bye week, a much greater discussion of candidates as they come into focus. I gotta believe, and I do believe, that names are going to get leaked. You're going, rather than wild speculation about, and I'm not taking shots at anybody who speculates, because that's what we do. It's sports talk radio. It's fun. You're a sports fan. This is what we all do, sitting around the bar, sitting around the living room, sitting around wherever, talking sports with our buddies. We go, what about if they did this? What about if they did that? It's a carryover. This is what happens. We're all invested. We're all involved. We all have opinions about these guys. And there are certain players or former players and coaches that we think make sense, and those that don't. And you get into the arguments as to the reasons. It's fun. But initially, when this opens up, what you are going to get is a lot of people throwing names at a wall. You're going to get names that just, I don't know, that guy's available. And I do the same thing.
They crossed paths 8 years ago.
Right.
What was that sound effect? Yeah.
I threw something up against the wall.
This is how we build a hot board.
So, there are names that make sense, that have direct ties to Mike Norvell, maybe have worked with him in the past. And if not worked with him, worked with somebody that he worked with. And I get it. This is how we connect the dots. And we say, oh, he's a good candidate. I like that guy. And by the way, most of us tend to say the guy who's kicking ass right this very moment is the guy I want. And if you do some research in that moment and say, yeah, but he sucked terribly for 2 years at such and such state. Well, but he's kicking ass now. So this is how that kind of goes.
In fairness, nobody succeeds at Tulsa, so he was at Tulsa for a couple of years.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do?
Well, this is the unique thing about this exercise right now is you do want to go to market earlier to put the feelers out. I'm sure they went to market with feelers before the firings were made.
4 to 5 weeks ago, I would guess. I mean,
right.
I do wonder.
Jimbo was taking the A&M job at the second half of the Alabama game when DeAndre got hurt.
Yes, he was. I am curious. Now, remember, Jimbo had
Coach, are you
had
texting? No,
not at all. Remember that Jimbo had put his name out there, or his agent had put his name out there for multiple jobs prior to that. So that wasn't shocking or anything like that. What I do wonder about is when was the exact moment? Because it matters, because it speaks to a timeline. When did Mike know? Oh, it's that bad. We're starting over. I'm firing these dudes.
Second half SMU. That'd be my guess.
You don't think it was the Boston College game?
No, I mean, he might have thought on a position coach level the Boston College game. He did have that look.
Oh, that look in the BC game was, man. Because listen, we noticed he had a weird look in the Georgia Tech game in Ireland. There was one shot where we're like, ooh.
Oh, well, no. There were a couple things that were weird.
Remember, here's why. I think he looked like a guy who had seen a ghost in that game. Like something that surprised him that he didn't expect to see. Listen, we threw for fewer than 200 yards in that game.
Yeah.
We ran for fewer than 40. I mean, it was ridiculous. Or our leading
well,
rusher
he didn't expect it to be a game.
But my point would be, when that ended, he thought, oh, man, okay, so this is not even close to what I thought it was going to be. The September the 2nd, when you play that game on a Monday, and you get blown the game's over. I know the final score was 28-13. You got blown out. The game was over in the first half.
Yeah.
It was kind of over really right from Jump Street. And I think you could have at that point. You know, by the way, your leading rusher in that game was Davis with 11. 11 yards rushing.
Yeah, I think that's because he might have pushed the pile 10 yards on a carry.
Yeah.
That might have been a different night. Maybe that was Cal.
11.
Yeah.
I don't know. It would have been early. I mean, it would have been early. You're steady not throwing for 300 yards. They haven't thrown for 300 yards in a game this year.
I think you look at it with DJ. You know, when was the change coming with DJ? I think that's when he finally says, oh, God, this thing is so broken. But it wasn't until the second half of SMU.
So you would have been 1-4 by the time he figured it out?
By the time he figured out how significant of change was coming. Again, I'll agree with you that maybe at BC he knew that he needed to fire a coach or two, but I don't think he was thinking on the level of both coordinators or sweeping change until the SMU result.
Sometimes I'm reminded, and it's a good exercise to remember how it is that you got to this place where all of this is necessary. I could argue that the 2.5 quarters worth of good football from Brock Glenn against Clemson was the highlight of the year. Everything has gone downhill appreciably since then. He has, meaning Brock. The rest of it has all been just absolute buffoonery. But here it is out loud. Unbelievable. It is unbelievable. So you say second half SMU? Here you go. 16, 13, 16, 14, 11, 3. Those are our offensive outputs. 16, 13, 16, 14, 11.
Oh, points.
3. Yeah, points. Think about that. It's hard to do. 11 against North Carolina. James Madison scored 70. 52.5. We scored 11 points. We scored 3 last week. 14 against Miami, 16 against Duke, 13 against Clemson, 16 against SMU, 14 against Cal, 12 against Memphis, 13 against BC, and the highlight of the year, ladies and gentlemen, 21 in the opener. It is, I mean, these are the numbers, obviously, of a team that has the fewest touchdowns in America. Just saying that out loud is also a strange thing to say. Hey, think of all of the teams that play college football. All of them. We have the fewest touchdowns of any of them. That is so fundamentally broken. That is unbelievable.
Yeah, like name a team. Pick one.
Any of them.
How about UCLA? Awful, right? They've scored 36 more points than we have this season.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think UCLA would beat us.
About Kennesaw State. Remember they had that one-time big win? 154 points. They've seen more points than we have this season.
They got a cover in which they didn't cover in a game in which they held the opponent to 5.
Yeah, I think that's right.
That's right. Now that'll hurt your feelings.
Kent State, winless. 136 points, though. They've scored 3 more.
3 more than us.
That's right.
That would be a war. That would be a war. I still say we're going to run it up and ruin the whole thing by beating Charleston Southern 50-7, and then it's going to be all out of whack, Tom.
Yeah, but we'll try and score 80, and you'll be like, man, they tried to score 80 today, and they got 50 out of it.
It won't properly match up, man. Pinch a Penny Pools and Spas have everything you need for pool maintenance: chemicals, cleaners, pumps, vacuums, nets, covers, you name it, they got it. And they already have the largest selection of premium hot springs, hot tubs in the entire city. You can easily finance those, by the way, making it very, very affordable. If you have an older hot tub, it's about to get cold. I promise someday, some effing day, it'll get cold in Tallahassee. Not in the middle of November, God forbid, but at some point it will. And you've been putting off upgrading because of your old hot tub and you didn't want to deal with it. It's a hassle. It's hard to get it removed. They'll come get it. They'll haul it away. They'll give you money towards your new one. That's a good thing. They make it easy. Go check them out. Having an amazing hot tub is not out of reach. Go by the Greer Street Road location for Pinch a Penny. It is impressive. I went there to check it out, to meet the owner, to talk about hot tubs, because I don't know anything about hot tubs. Needed to get a sense. Went over. He gave me the tour. I saw the 5-seater. I said, I'd like to get in that 5-seater by myself. I don't want the other 4 seats occupied. I want my feet on those seats.
I call it the Pentagon.
It was one of your better ones in a while. I love that one. Jeff Cameron Show 93.3 Real Talk Radio, Warchant TV.
Choose Hearth and Patio for custom fireplaces, maintenance, outdoor grills, kitchens, fire pits, lighting, and so much more. Check out all of Hearth and Patio's options online at hearthpatiotallahassee.com. Hearth and Patio, they keep the home fires burning.
Excuse me? What happened to my grocery store?
This is your grocery store.
No, this is
a farmer's market?
Yes.
Well, sure. Any grocery store is like a farmer's market when you shop fresh from Florida. Fresh from Florida produce is locally grown by Florida farmers and always sold in season at the peak of freshness.
Well, that's a fresh new way to shop.
Fresh from Florida brings the farmer's market to wherever you buy groceries. Look for our logo or ask for Fresh from Florida.
Games for Less, Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used games, as well as new and used consoles like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Atari 2600, PS4, and PS5. You name it. Locally owned and operated since 1994, trade-ins are not only welcome, but Games for Less pays more for your trade-ins than the big chain stores. That's not all. Games for Less now buys and sells new and used vinyl records to boot. George loves the Beatles, by the way. Reserve all the new releases today at Games for Less, conveniently located in the Walmart Supercenter Plaza on Appalachia Parkway.
Holidays are coming. Better shower up with a beautiful custom shower enclosure from Widden Glass. Widden Glass will take care of you to your complete satisfaction. They've designed and installed bath and shower enclosures for Tallahassee homeowners for almost 70 years. When you call Widden Glass, you're dealing with experienced, reliable professionals who offer only the best. Widden's top-of-the-line bath and shower enclosures provide style and luxury at an affordable price. With the holidays coming, that means family, and that means now is the time to shower up with style. Call Widden Glass today, 222-5781, or chat online with one of their service professionals at widdenglass.com. WHIDDON. Widden, the first name in glass since 1945. Call 222-5781.
This month, new Titan trucks have 0% financing for 60 months and get up to $8,000 off. Plus, with the best warranty in America, 5 years or 100,000 miles bumper to bumper, it might just be the best truck deal in America and only at Kraft Nissan.
There's fun to be had every night at the Corner Pocket. Take home prizes on Trivia Tuesdays and Beer Bingo Thursdays. And kickstart your weekend with Martini Fridays. Plus, happy hour runs every weekday and game day specials every time the Noles take the field. Watch all the best games at the Corner Pocket's Vegas Wall, featuring 560 inches of flat screen TV heaven.
Oh, really?
The best food, the best drinks, and the best place to watch all the games. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Are you a parent of a 2 to 7-year-old? Listen closely for an exciting free radio offer. By now, you've probably heard of ABC Mouse, the award-winning and revolutionary online learning program that's changing the lives of early learners everywhere.
ABC Mouse is like a little one-on-one teacher. It has helped her so much.
Designed by teachers and early childhood learning experts, ABC Mouse seamlessly aligns with what your child is already learning in school. And with over 7,000 learning activities and more than 650 lessons, it's the most comprehensive early learning site on earth.
I have been teaching for 13 years, and I've never seen a program like ABC Mouse. It encompasses science, math, reading, social studies.
It's just endless what they can learn on ABC Mouse. I've always had to use 20 websites, and now I can just use one. Right now, we're offering a special radio promo to try it free for a month. But you have to go to abcmouse.com/radio to claim your free month. That's abcmouse.com/radio, abcmouse.com/radio. Sponsored by Age of Learning.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
Mark weighed in. I wasn't looking at the chat. He told me that Tulsa's a fine place, that I've mischaracterized Tulsa. I admit it, I probably did. But every time I am flipping on those murder shows, it's happening in Tulsa. It's murder porn. You just flip around and they're like, hey, here we go. Got another investigation. I say to my wife, I bet you it's in Tulsa. Yeah, it is. For years, of course, it would be like cops in the state of Florida. Keep up the great work. Y'all are the best. Go Seminoles. Thank you, Chris, very, very much. And thank you. That's very, very kind. Noel Kev writes, this whole Norvell and coaching talk has me asking, greatest sports movie head coach / manager of all time. He says Ed Gennaro from Necessary Roughness, who was awesome. But I don't know how you could Major League. I mean, our coach at Major League was.
Yep. That was my thought. I don't even know who the runner-up is, but Lou Brown. Lou Brown is the best.
Who, oddly, the actor had ties to Tallahassee.
I believe we've brought this up a million times, and we couldn't figure out how. Because he was born in Newman, Illinois. His name is James Richard
Gammon.
James Richard Gammon.
Oh, and he was in the movie business for a very long time. By the way, he's been dead for 24 years. 14 years.
He worked for a TV station as a cameraman and director.
In Tallahassee?
In Orlando. No.
I'm telling you, there's some weird connection. But he had the look, didn't he? He had the perfect look for it with that mustache and the voice, the gravelly voice.
He looked like Bill Hayes' dad. Corner pocket owner.
Yeah, he did.
You see a guy who looks like the son of Lou Brown in Major League say, I love your establishment, sir.
Yep. He was fun. And he's really good in that movie. I can't believe Major League came out in 1989. I was a senior in high school. This is long before Charlie Sheen was doing all kinds of cocaine and hookers.
He might have been. He just didn't know about it because he didn't broadcast it at that point.
Well, he was probably right in that moment. Probably he
Yeah.
was. He was probably getting after it right then and there. Yeah. Star was rising. Yeah. Probably.
I think a honorable mention. It's a weird coach, but would be Chubbs from Happy Gilmore. He's his coach. He's a swing coach.
I guess. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't
great
really.
character.
Yeah, it is a great character. It's a hilarious character, but I don't think that really works. Yeah, I go James Gammon. But hey, thanks, Noel Kev. Good fodder. Ed Gennaro was good too. Really good.
Wouldn't let me play on the tour anymore. Oh, because of your race? No. Damn alligator bit my hand off.
When he died, by the way, most recently, they had that some of the stuff on the tweets with him and the alligator in the hand.
Yeah.
It was so good.
And Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln is there. Yeah, it is so good.
We've only just begun. Do you know the story of him and why he got the role in Rocky? Carl Weathers.
Well, he had played with the Raiders briefly. I knew that.
So he came in to read for it.
Mm-hmm.
And Stallone was reading Rocky's lines back to him. He had no idea who Stallone was.
Nobody did at the time, buddy.
Correct. And because he was reading him like Sylvester Stallone was reading the lines, he says, well, this isn't working. This isn't working. If you brought in a real actor to work with me, then maybe you'd get a better read from me. And apparently Stallone was enamored with that response because he wanted somebody who would bring that fire. And he's like, that's it. That's the guy.
Well, there's plenty of fire there. Lane Kiffin, by the way, and Ole Miss this afternoon secured a commitment from a former Alabama player, Caleb Cunningham, 4 days after the wide receiver visited the program during the Rebels' Week 11 win over Georgia. 6'3", 190 pounds, top 21 prospect in the 2025 cycle, the number 2 overall receiver in 2025, and was considered a cornerstone of Kalen DeBoer's inaugural recruiting class with the Crimson Tide. So a little flippity-doo from Lane Kiffin. Why do I bring it up? Well, A, there's already a jaundiced eye cast towards Kalen DeBoer. Now, you can bet today at Alabama at many a cafe, there's a conversation going on about Kalen DeBoer. See there? More evidence. I told you.
Yep. It's that. Well, he moved from Tallahassee, that guy, because he was sitting in the stands behind Jimbo.
Jimbo. Yeah, that's you got some angry guys.
I see you, Jimbo.
I knew it. I knew it.
It's another 3 and out, Jimbo.
I'm just picturing those guys. Those were the original guys that something about saving those sweeps, man. And that was the fun conversation. If you remember back in the day.
That's Section C.
Section C.
I forgot about the gibberish.
Yeah. These are the guys that are the preppers. Protocol 32. Protocol 32. Get your Patriot supply.
I was going to say there's an ad that runs that they would really be interested in.
It's the best. But right now they're having the Kalen DeBoer.
Drinking sludge.
Look at you. Ole Miss out here flipping our recruits. In season, we're not even terrible right now. And look at it. Look at it all.
Darlene, I said another cup.
Well, I want to be in a position to get disappointed by that kind of flipping as opposed to the, I'm not coming there anymore that we get on the regular basis. We get the, I'm going to go ahead and decommit from Florida State. I'm not committing anywhere else. I'm just decommitting to Florida State. I know I don't want to necessarily be there. I'm not sure where I want to be, but it's not going to be there. I want to get back to being mad about some things like this. We're like, damn it, man, we lost a guy. We got screwed over by Old Lane or whomever, right? Because we were in it. Also, again, this goes back to something I said last hour, maybe it was the first hour, that anymore in recruiting, it's so weird because this would be a big story. It kind of is, I guess. I don't know. Maybe they'll get him. Maybe they will. Or maybe Alabama will pony up and say, allow me to retort. And then they re-get him. And even then, if you're the Alabama guy, snatched him back from you. And then what happens? Colorado. What in the hell? What has happened here? We have been played and made the fool.
The game has changed.
I don't like it. Colorado. Yeah, you could pick.
I told you. It was changing.
Oh,
it's different now. It's different.
The Bear would have never let any of this happen. The Bear, hell. Nick Saban would have never let this. Damn it, man, I'm tired of this. Yeah, you can just picture it. I don't know. I do want to get mad about these things again. I want to get recruits that if we lose, there's a sense that you're I mean, I can't even concentrate on recruiting right now. I know it's a nightmare. I know it's a mess. And when we take it seriously and we don't do jokes and we don't play characters and we do all that stuff, like how serious can you be? Because The house is burning down. I'll worry about the furniture later. The house is burning down.
You boys keep your voices down. You've got a heart condition.
It's only going to get worse, Marie. We just lost somebody to Colorado.
It's only football. Is it worth not spending time with your grandchildren?
I want a divorce.
Says that every day. One of these days you'll get it.
I just think that, I got asked this question. I've been asked this question a lot. I think people outside the program feel like we're on a day-to-day, hour-to-hour, worried about another recruit decommitting or a recruit like one of these offensive linemen, now that we fired Atkins, saying goodbye. And there's whispers that one will here very shortly. No. I don't spend any time with that. I get lifeblood of the program, got to have recruits, etc. I just presume that we're going to lose them all. With a season like this, I've come to the conclusion we'll probably lose them all, probably, to some degree.
This is where the name of the assistant you bring in could help you. I think in recruiting, it could make an impact. Like for me, I'd rather see about maybe all things together as it pertains to the offense, who you can bring with you, how old you are, what part of the recruiting territories you have experience running in. Is the offense fun? Is it considered new age? Like reputation, all those things. But if you did bring in somebody with clout, like a Muschamp or, I don't know, Mullen, but give me like a sexy name for an offensive coordinator's role. That could save you a couple of kids that are committed right now that are about to decommit, because that one meeting can change everything. It can. That's where you might be able to mitigate some of this and even steal a couple of kids away. It's not just about transfers they bring with them. What if they're in a power school and they've got, 2 top 40 recruits and he's the primary recruiter for them and he comes and joins us? Now, all of a sudden, you can climb back up those recruiting rankings and make a bit of a dent in December. Doesn't mean you're going to have a great class, but you could make a dent on December 4th.
Well, I do on a day-to-day basis. We talk about not worrying, or I say I don't worry as much about the class because I'm presuming that it's all gone. I do look at very closely, like, are you going to be able to reset the line of scrimmage? This has been the biggest area of concern and weakness all year long. I've been frustrated by it over and over again. And obviously, if you were to salvage anything of this class, if you could salvage the offensive linemen or bring in brand new ones, whatever it might be with the coordinator hire, then okay, I'll live with the dearth of skill position players.
And the other part of it is unlimited coaching positions these days. I don't know what that is for the trail. Once again, I don't know if there are restrictions on that. But does your offensive coordinator have to be your offensive line coach in this new era of existence for Florida State? Probably not.
No.
Probably won't be.
No.
So you could have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Get some name with your coordinator and then bring in somebody who is he goes mad on the trail at that particular offensive line coach position.
It's interesting because a position like offensive line, I want a guy that can teach it and can ensure toughness. And, we got a guy that we share a pastry with that I've mentioned before. Done a good job everywhere he's ever been with the offensive line. I can tell you that. So there's an outside possibility that you bring that guy. I don't know how great a recruiter he would be.
Right, and does he have a stomach for this era? All that stuff.
Maybe not, but he would teach it, and they'd be physical, and they'd be tough. So you got to find somebody else that's a compliment to him in the world of recruiting, and then let him mold what they bring in. I mean, I'm in on that.
In theory, could you hire analysts to be your coaches and then allow your coaches be your recruiters?
Well, with the rules that change where analysts could, it's interesting, isn't it?
Boy, they're paying that analyst $350K.
Yeah.
And their position coach only $400K. What's that?
My friends at Tried and True Consulting, you can do the ad board right now. I've talked about that before. I do want to thank them, by the way, along with the Second Harvest of the Big Ben, having the opportunity to go out and raise some money and awareness for the folks at the Second Harvest. We got together, Barrel Proof Lounge, had a good time, a lot of nice people over there, and a lot of you came out and said hello, and we appreciate that as well. Tried and True doing good things in the city, doing really good things in our community, and loyal partners of the Jeff Cameron Show, and I am always appreciative of that. More about all of the things that they can do for your business as they are turning heads now. They got 2 more commits here recently, thanks to the Jeff Cameron Show and the work that they do. So, I got to give them credit for their due diligence and the work that they've done. But it's not just me about, I'm out here showing ad boards and so forth. No, these guys do really good work, and they're saving you money. They're giving money back to the Battle's End. And again, so many cool promotions, but none better so far than just getting your hands in on the ground in the community and helping out other businesses and other folks that are doing good by people. Give Don or Joe or Rusty a call today, 844-463-6653. That's 844-I'm-for-Noel. And just remind them, they heard all of this on the Jeff Cameron Show, Tried and True Consulting.
This is meteorologist Paul Trombley with your Real Talk 93.3 weather update. Daytime highs approaching 80 this afternoon under overcast skies. Winds out of the east, 8 to 15 miles per hour. Slight chance of rain showers tonight. Lows level off around 66, cloudy. Slight chance of rain showers tomorrow. High temperatures reach up to 75. Cloudy skies expected. This report is brought to you by the Lawn Johns. For all your landscaping and lawn care needs, visit thelawnjohns.com. Right now, it's 75 degrees.
Hey, no fans, our partner ISF Inc. is a national management and IT consulting firm located right here in Tallahassee, Florida, solving the future for state governments through strategy, process, and technology. As a trusted advisor for state governments, ISF knows the importance of defining a clear and detailed strategy. Our friends at ISF can help your organization create a strategy that sets you on a path to success. ISF, your vision plus our expertise brings your brilliant ideas to life. Visit ISF.com to learn more. ISF, solving the future.
I'm Caleb. I'm the lawn supervisor at Paul's Termite and Pest Control, and I really do love my job. Paul's has created an incredible work environment that always puts our customers' needs first. Their needs are our concerns, and my particular job of improving the health of North Florida lawns is something I truly enjoy. I'm an outdoor person, and I get to be outside all day, watching the lawns run through the stages full of weeds to weedless to lush, grass-filled landscapes is very rewarding. I'm proud to represent Paul's.
I'm Jay. Having the privilege to work with people like Caleb and all of our employees is truly an honor. There is no doubt that the staff of Paul's Termite and Pest Control is the best in our industry. All of our people are local, and local really does mean something. We're North Floridians. Our kids go to school here. We shop here. We build relationships here, and we honor our commitments. To all of our customers, thanks for trusting us to protect your family, pets, and home.
For the elimination of termites, any other pests, and a greener lawn too, call Paul's. We'll get them all.
Do you think our country's going in the right direction, or does it feel like everything's falling apart?
This is G. Deckerhoff. In 1979, my friend Guy Moore opened his first store. Over 45 years later, Garnet and Gold is still providing the Seminole Nation with unique ways to show their spirit. As the last locally owned FSU merchandise source in Tallahassee, we're proud to be a part of the Florida State experience and this community. If you're a Seminole like me, this is your store. Garnet and Gold. Go Noles.
Pilaf, all offering over 2,000 calories every day. Their food kit lasts up to 25 years. Who knows what our country will look like then? But when that day comes, you'll be ready. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com now to order your 3-month emergency food kit from My Patriot Supply. Go to MyPatriotSupply.com right now.
The Jeff Cameron Show is a production of the Warchant.com Multimedia Network. Check out Warchant.com today for the latest news inside Florida State athletics. That's Warchant.com. Now, back to Jeff on Real Talk 93.3.
We have so many that want former Noles here all over their hands all over it, right? I don't really, again, I've never been one of the people that's like, you got to go out and get former Noles. If they fit the bill and it can work and they'll recruit, great. I mean, T-Buck was a guy that a lot of people thought we'd bring in the first go-around.
There were many go-arounds where we thought they would bring him in.
We've been thinking that for a long, long time. I would like to see that, frankly. You'd be all right with Muschamp? Did I win you over?
Yeah, as long, I mean, you need to make the assumption, and sometimes I get leery when I'm making assumptions about what we do as an organization. So that's why you hear trepidation in my voice. But if of course, Tom, they would bring in a bunch of young recruiters and guys that he trusts as capos for position coaches holds true, then sure. At that point, yes, bring Muschamp in.
I so many moments where Muschamp was, you see him on the sideline leading a group of players that played for one another on defense. And so much about great defensive football is about sacrifice. Talk about so often about an assignment in which you get no glory and the guy behind you does because you do your job. And you really have to want to get somebody to the ground. You know, it's a hard thing to do. Defense is very difficult in that way. And you cannot play defense without passion, without emotion. You cannot be listless. You cannot go through the motions. You have to play with supreme confidence and physicality. And it's been a minute. Now, I know that we had a group at the end of last year that played very well on defense. And I think there was a nice combination of, they came together as the year went on. They were littered with NFL talent all over that defensive side of the ball. And they took onus of this. They took ownership of it, and they led by example. A lot of those guys were in a position to go get the bag. And it was nice because it created a ferocity. But in time, that created sort of a kinship with that defense where everybody knew what they were there to do, trying to get paid, but at the same time loved one another because there was a selflessness to the way that they played, right? And I think more than just losing the caliber of players that we lost their leadership. And I do think that that's at the root of some of what Mike misjudged, was you weren't just losing guys that ran a 4.4 40 or jumped really high or were really big or were lightning quick off the edge or whatever it was. You were losing guys that believed wholeheartedly in what it was you taught, what you talked to them about when they signed up to be a transfer portal player and join your program. And you were losing guys that were excellent physically, but very, very vital to the locker room as well as the on-the-field product. When they left in mass, I think the assumption he made was that, well, the example has been set. This is how hard you have to work. This is what you have to do in order to succeed. Surely these guys will take the baton and go from there. As it turned out, none of them did. They didn't have any real leaders. So in addition to losing the physical tools that they lost that were NFL caliber and beyond, I mean, some of these guys aren't just NFL caliber. They're leading the league in pressures. I mean, that's insane. The top two guys are on the same team with the Rams, and they were right here on the same team with Florida State a year ago. So you didn't just lose that, but you lost the buy-in. And so you needed somebody to take that baton and lead in the same way that they did. They were never going to be surrounded with the same kind of talent that that group had. But had a Patrick Payton or somebody like him done that, then I think others would have followed suit and gotten in line. And they would have been able to lay it on the line each week. We still would not have had the same results. This defense would not have been as good. They lost too much talent. Your linebacker coach is still your linebacker coach. The secondary has had a hard time communicating for years now. I've always had an issue, even with the successes of the defense a year ago. I never thought Adam was aggressive enough. I didn't love our third down defense, etc. But that said, I think you would have certainly gotten by this year. You would not have had a 2-10 season. You would have had a 7-5 season.
No, if your offense could score 27 points a game, you'd be over 500 this year.
Right.
That defense would have helped you get to that place.
Yeah.
Because your buy-in factor would have been better.
Yeah, yes, it went down further and further and further when it became evident that not only were you not as good as last year's team and you lacked leadership, but you also couldn't move the ball on offense, and then it felt like it was a fruitless endeavor. Sure, I'll agree with all of that. I do push back on people who say, hey, had we done this, we would have played better defense. I don't know. They haven't communicated in years. They've really struggled to figure out zone for years. They have not done a good job consistently of getting kids to understand our principles.
They would have played harder defense is what they would have played.
Yeah. Yeah. I think they still would have gotten exposed in some areas. And I've been talking about linebacker play for some time now, including last year, where when a team's got to convert a third down, they just isolate linebackers in coverage and say, all right, you can't cover them. And it's aggravating. Now, luckily, that didn't always get exploited because we had a front four that could get to the quarterback. Or we put you so far behind the chains that we could really dictate terms.
Or Bethune and Deloach had their head on a swivel and they would make a play.
Yeah. They weren't always going to the right gaps, but they did. Yeah. Safety play has fallen off too. It's funny. Everybody is worried that Surtain's going to take the job with Southern Miss or that he'll take a job in the NFL. And I'm like, he does. We don't communicate on the back end. We don't know how to pass. We're not great there.
That was one of my concerns before the season started with center field. Who the hell's going to do it? Because clearly you didn't trust Conrad Hussey. Apparently good for good reason. What's his snap count been the last month? And that's why you brought in Devontae Brown. That went so poorly in Dublin, Devontae hardly ever saw the field again. I mean, think about that. It went so poorly in Dublin. And early in the season, I remember the breakdown that was done, Dominic Robinson showing that Shaheem Brown was about the only guy in the secondary who knew where everybody needed to be. And clearly that willpower was sucked out of him by something.
Well, I'm sure the lack of success, but I also think that, Shaheem turns it down too often. I just don't see a physicality from our safeties that is, and I've been saying this for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's really disappointing. I'm not calling him not tough because I'm sure he's tough in everyday walks of life. But I am saying that, I don't see a physicality to that group at all.
No, he made a play in the first half against North Carolina, and it was an honest reaction to go, whoa, all right, there it is. And when you have to make that your reaction, or when
if that is your reaction,
that is your instinct to go, whoa, look at that. That means you've been devoid of it for some time.
Well, again, this is why we all reacted the way that we did when Earl Little Jr. was in the game and made plays and triggered and played fast. We were like, oh, this is different. We don't see this every day. It wasn't even that he was doing something right or good. It was just that he was playing fast.
Right. Which means that we know he cares.
Yeah, well, he cares. Yeah.
Don't know if the aptitude is strong because he just changed positions, but we know he cares. And it was the Miami game.
Yeah. Well, I think that if we had to rank our disappointments on the season, would yours be that they didn't care to be there against Miami?
That many didn't. Yeah, there were a few that did. In fact, I think the linebacker position has brought some of the most care of any position group on that defense. If you're splitting up corners, safeties, tackles, and ends. I think linebackers probably top 2 or top 3 for caring factor. I think Cam Riley cares. I know Omar Graham cares. Juice Cryer cared. I mean,
without question, yeah, they care.
But there were probably 3 or 4 guys that on any given play you're going, oh man, he thinks it's the spring game.
Tom, yesterday I talked, and we're going to sign off here in a second. Yesterday I was just thinking about it again today for my audience that missed it on yesterday's headlines. It's not all that far removed, but I remember it, and I remember my dad saying, that's never going to work. And of course he didn't know, but it was just an opinion. But you do realize that Jerry Faust, who died over the weekend, former Notre Dame head coach, never coached college football before getting the Notre Dame job.
No.
Now, that's a crazy era. He was an elite high school coach in the 80s in Ohio, and they gave him a shot to be the head coach at Notre Dame at a time where Notre Dame was one of the 3 best programs in America. They dubbed it the Grand Experiment. Can you imagine in today's football? He won 4 high school national championships, 5 Ohio State titles in 6 seasons. In that stretch, it was Archbishop Moeller High School in Cincinnati. He was 70-1. First of all, if you're the one, you've got to be like, yeah. They knew what time it was that night. But that dude ended up getting the head coaching job at Notre Dame. Now, he failed miserably.
I'm looking up an example in hockey recently where there was a guy named David Quinn who was hired by the Rangers a few years ago to be their head coach. And he got fired within 3 seasons. He actually caught a second job, how I don't know, with San Jose, the worst team in hockey. He had 1 season of assistant coach experience at the NHL level. Then he became Boston University's head coach. And BU had such a good run that they said straight from college to the NHL. And it blew up in their face.
But at least he had success in college. I mean, he won a national championship in college.
Hockey versus the NHL
100%
is akin to high school football to Notre Dame.
It is very different. You're right. But again, at least it's a higher level than high school.
I agree. I would say that, college football to the NFL is a much more logical jump than NCAA hockey, where there are any number of minor leagues that are far better elite, European leagues. It's like single A, New York Penn League. If you were a manager of the New York Penn League team, you're coming to the Yankees. Love what you did. Love what you did with the New York Penn team.
Oh, it's funny to think about. And I knew, because you weren't born at that time, that you probably didn't realize that story. But yeah, and I remember him as a coach. Died at 89. But he was funny about it. He resigned. Notre Dame in those days did not fire coaches. They didn't believe in it. They didn't want to fire coaches. So they just didn't re-up your deal. And that was their signal. And you know what he did? You talk about honorable. My man, when he didn't get the fourth year re-upped, went in and resigned. He said, I get it. And he admitted he failed and was like, this isn't to the Notre Dame standard. I'm resigning my place. Thank you for the opportunity. Pretty cool.
Say goodbye to Archbishop Malloy for me. I really liked him.
He was a nice guy. Tried to help me out the best he could. By the way, biggest disappointment about Notre Dame's campus? Now, you know me. I'm a campus guy. I tour. I go all these campuses. I try to go and see every part of it. I go to the different buildings.
I'm going to guess.
Well, I think you're going to get it right. You know what my whole thing is.
Okay. Well, I'm going to guess it has something to do with books.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Library sucks at Notre Dame. What are we doing? How can you have been out here teaching higher education for 160 years or whatever it is at Notre Dame, and you've got a sorry-ass bookstore?
It's because the best book.
Library. I shouldn't say bookstore. Sorry about that. Library.
The best book is in the chapel.
Oh, there it is, Tom. That library, it's like this office. It's just this sterile. I walked in. I was, this can't be your library. Oh, yes. Take a look around. I was devastated.
Am I at Buck Lake?
I was like, this is ridiculous. This is like an Albertsons off of 54th. What are we doing? Good work out of you. Thanks, everybody. Be well. We'll talk to you tomorrow on a Redemption Thursday. The picks will be coming back. Let's go. Let's get it on.